This is Erkast.
Trav.
Scriv.
Viridian.
Nikh Savage.
Komodo. Teatime. Elfishguy. Bleh.
Pilski.
And you're watching
Episode 100.
100.
100. 100.
100.
100.
100.
100. 100.
100.
100.
100.
100.
100. 100th episode
Of Geographically.
Geographically Challenged. Welcome to episode number 100 of Geographically Challenged.
Thank you. I don't know what to say about it. I never thought we'd get here. I thought it'd probably die out by episode 10 and we'd be like, all right, guys, Asian Counter-Strike's dead. Wrap it up. Back in...
I'm pretty sure that was like one of the first like titles as well. It was literally like, yeah, the scene is dead. Wrap it up, guys. Like
it's more like a eulogy, right? That's what the
titles.
That's what the first episode was. We're just talking about, the great times of Counter-Strike in Asia, how it's gone to shit right now, how we got nothing left. And I won't lie, it did feel like in the middle of 2020 when COVID was in its peak that that's going to be it for Asian CS, considering how bad some of the teams we were watching then were. But look at us now. Who would have thunk, man?
Yep. Yeah, I remember talking about that when we hit the 5-year anniversary, which was obviously almost this time last year. And we were saying, I think, that first episode was called Asian Counter-Strike is in the worst place it's ever been. And how 5 years later, we were like, oh, it's actually not at that anymore. You know what I mean? I feel like it's improved. And I think it, again, kind of is still in a pretty good spot. But look, obviously it's episode 100, so we want to do something a little bit to celebrate it. Like I said previously, we had hoped, we had bigger dreams, obviously, for episode 100, which was flying Bleh to Australia and, having a bit of a good time in person and whatnot.
Good on the beach, mate.
Exactly. Maybe that'll happen for episode 200. Who knows?
That would be sick, dude.
But we do have some things that are organized. I've got some, some things that are a little bit different to a normal episode. That'll all be backloaded. I'll put it at the end of the episode because I know there's going to be a few people that just don't give a shit about that. Obviously, it's a big deal for us to get to episode 100, but there's probably some people here who want to watch the 10-minute segment about the Mongolz at Cluj-Napoca. So, we'll talk about that first. We'll get all that all sorted. We'll do the normal episode things, and then we'll get into the episode 100 celebration for those of you that actually care about that a little bit more part of the community sentiment rather than just trying to hear what we have to say about Counter-Strike. So with all that said and done, like I said, obviously, episode 100, we've got the celebration, all of that kind of stuff. We've got some guest cameos, we've got some stories, those kinds of things. We'll obviously talk about Mongolz at Cluj. We'll talk about Senzu to PassionUA. Tyloo have just won Pinnacle of Battle as well, so there's something to talk about there. Nexvoid, Erkast's new team, and how they went at MESA Pro Series. Boros' departure from Jijiehao. Nations Cup has been announced as well for Counter-Strike. So there's quite a lot to get through for this episode. It might be a little bit of a longer one, but that's all what we're going to cover throughout episode number 100. All the normal, usual episode stuff will be at the start, and then we'll do the fun stuff at the end. Before we get into the conversation around the Counter-Strike stuff, I just want to give a quick shout out as well for episode 100 here to Zowie ANZ, who have continued to support not just the FPS esports scene in the APAC region, but they're also supporting us. And so kind of, which is great, obviously, because it's kind of preaching to the choir here, because 88% of CS2 pros are already using Zowie monitors. I use one too. I think you guys do as well. So if you want to be good like me and us and the pros, make sure you check out Zowie. There's a link in the description if you want to check them out and support us as well, obviously. I would recommend the XL2586X. It's got the best in-class motion clarity, plus it is just the best. It's bigger. It's better. It's got the highest number. 600 is a pretty big number as far as the hertz are concerned, and it's the one that I use, and I can tell you it's a pretty good monitor. So check that out, and once again, thanks to Zowie NZ for the support. But let's jump into the meat and potatoes of the episode. Obviously, the big hot topic of the week, I suppose, will be PGL Cluj-Napoca. The Mongolz have hit another top 4, and this is another, I guess, step in the right direction for this Mongolz lineup, because we obviously all come in wondering, what are they going to look like with Cobra Zera in 2026? And their first outing was, it was okay, but it wasn't anything too fantastic. Now, though, we have a repeat top 4 at a very solid event with some good teams, and Cobra Zera also looking pretty good in this event. So I think overall, Senzu Who is potentially the conversation to be had around the Mongolz coming into 2026.
Look, here's a big difference between what we saw from them earlier in the year as opposed to like in the first event in Krakow compared to this one. This time they practice. You can clearly see they put in the work. We said it in the previous episode as well. You're looking at them in Krakow, it just felt like there was nothing new over there, right? Cobra Zera wasn't terrible, but this time around they looked like such a well-oiled machine. And sure, beating someone like Vitality or even Mouse for the third place, I think that was a little bit too much. But they made Vitality sweat on map 1. I think they could have easily got that map as well. But what's impressive for me is how they're able to take down Na'Vi and Furia, especially how convincing it looked in a couple of those maps, because these are two teams that they have in the latter half of last year struggle against, right? Even when they had Senzu, even when they were considered top 3, top 4 team in the world, the fact that they're able to take these two teams down, I think paints a really nice picture. Sure, there could be a caveat saying on Na'Vi, they began struggling a little bit here and there, and Furia weren't exactly their S-tier form, so to speak, overall. But yeah, this is such a great sign. And think about this, right? You think about how long it took for Senzu to become a playoffs player.
Yeah.
And Crobazero just casually drops a 1.3 rating in his first arena game. Dude, and I've seen an arena. It's not the biggest. It's not the size of, let's say, a Cologne or a Krakow, but it is still pretty massive. Like it's a pretty sick setting right there. So for him to deliver in the way he did, great signs for the Mongolz. Top 4 in your second event with a new player, especially with how stacked this event was. Once again, the copium starting to inject my wee-wee, and I'm feeling good about that.
Beautiful.
Okay, bro.
Eloquent words as always, Bleh. I'm glad that
Thank
you've matured so much over the 5 years, or almost 6 years that we've been doing this podcast. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously we've touched on Crobazero. I think it's kind of nice to see him finding his feet. Usual suspects doing pretty well. I'm again, having to kind of reiterate that 9-10 seems like he's the bedrock of this team now. Like we obviously always talked about Senzu, and then 9-10 or Memzinho or Techno or whoever might have like a good appearance on the side. But nowadays it kind of feels like 9-10 is like the guy for the most part, and then you are looking at one of the riflers to kind of step up, and that's then the Smash Bros or the dynamic duo or the 1 and 2 punch that you need to actually get through a lot of these bigger series for the Mongolz. And I'm not necessarily mad about that. I think obviously 9-10 being in great form, it's really cool to see him having that success. And like we said, obviously if Crobazero can find his footing in this team, and then you also on occasion get some good output from Blitz Techno or Memzinho on the odd occasion, then I think we're in a pretty good position to find a really solid foundation for the Mongolz. I mean, are they going to reach the same heights? Are they going to make a major grand final, for example? Look, again, that's obviously always going to be tough to predict, so to speak. But I don't think it's like an impossibility, which is already a really, really good sign, given 3 months ago, we would have said, yeah, it's really hard to justify maybe even making an argument that could be a possibility. But I think it's a very real possibility. Like, you look at the teams that they've beaten in this event, you look at how they beat them, you would say, on their day, they could make a major final again, depending on how the bracket works out potentially as well. Obviously, it's early days as well, so we can presumably only imagine that things will get better for this lineup as well as Crobazero continues to kind of integrate. And also the good news is, as well, is it seems like Crobazero's got a pretty good presence on the social media side. I've seen a few interviews with him. He seems pretty fun, pretty happy, speaks reasonably good English as well. So we might get a bit of better insight into the Mongolz as well now that maybe we've got another face to kind of put to this lineup. So I think overall, really happy with the signing of Crobazero so far and what we've seen. And this event at Cluj-Napoca, I think, is giving us a lot of hopium going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's a side effect of, the trickle-down effect of what you've got from the Mongolian scene in general, that he's able to be so comfortable on the stage early on because, he's had opportunities to play lands and things like that, even though this is a bit of a step up from that. I mean, I was a little bit worried about them, like, especially in the Swiss, like, opening game against Pain. They lost that first map, and I was thinking, it's going to be the same story, but then they smashed the next two. The bait series, like, especially that third map, I was watching that new game and 9-10 was just going crazy. Like, yeah. I think he dropped almost 40 in that series to kind of get him across the line, which was pretty big. So, look, I think there was a couple of moments in this event where I was watching Mongolz and, like, they would lose, like, the first map or they would lose a map really hard, and I was getting worried about them, especially because they struggled so much at times against, like, Pain in that first map and then in the bait series. So when they actually went up against Na'Vi, I was like, especially after the first map, I was thinking, like, they're probably done ski here. Like, I didn't think they were actually going to make it through in that 3-1 phase. But I think the series that for you with a lot more confidence is obviously the Na'Vi Furia games back to back, especially like the second and third map for Na'Vi, and then the whole Furia series. Like, Furia is a very good outfit at the moment. I don't think they're like playing at their peak when they were like making a bunch of finals in a row and winning some events. Like, they've maybe dropped off a little bit since then, but still a very, very good team. And I think if Crobazero is playing in that form, 9-10 is in very, very good form at the moment, then they should be pretty good. Again, it's like, I feel like it's a bit of a roulette as to like who else is kind of playing well in the Mongolz sometimes, you know?
Yep.
Like there's some maps where like you've got some people playing well, but they still do have some of these maps where it's like 2 or 3 of the rifling core are kind of not doing enough at that level to be competitive. So they've just got to kind of work their way through some consistency issues, I think.
It's also like if you look at their if you look at the maps they played, it is very evident where their strengths were. Like it's Mirage, basically, right? And then of course you had a couple of nukes here and there against some of the lesser opposition. But apart from that, I feel like their map pool isn't exactly. It's the same. I think it's actually not that great in all honesty, right? You barely see them play Overpass anymore because obviously it's a ban for them. So I would like them to kind of work on. Maybe in Anubis, gravitate towards there. You've had historically some pretty good results on it. Remember when they beat Spirit back in the day as well, with Donk and all of that. So kind of expanding the map pool will be cool to see, I personally feel, and especially with the injection of confidence that I've had from this particular event. Look, the Mirage is the best map easily. Ancient can be, it can go back to how good it was for them back then. But apart from there, where do you really have any faith in them winning against, let's say, a top 6, top 7 team, right? It's not really too many maps out there. So if they're able to kind of maybe work on the nuke a little bit more, maybe make Anubis kind of like a third mainstay map, which could punish some of these other teams, I think that is where their path to success will lie for at least the duration of this season. But that's something they've never done. And it's always something which worries me. But hopefully, new blood coming in, maybe they get a little excited, maybe they want to kind of reinvent themselves. So that would be cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said about them also still kind of like losing to the mainstays, right? You go into that game against Vitality, you're like, they're not really going to be much of a contestant. And we were watching that Mouse game as well, Pilski, just before one of our casts earlier on in the week. And it was like we watched that Mirage and we're like, okay, well, they just got owned. And then they were sort of coming back a little bit on Inferno and you're thinking, okay, maybe there's something there. But I think it's still pretty obvious that, like, in terms of where they sit in the grouping of Counter-Strike in the top tier, like they are still pretty obviously like a step below like the super elite teams of the Vitality, certainly.
Top 5.
But even Mouse, I don't even know if I would say outside of the top 5, because like once you drop below like Vitality, Mouse, like there's definitely like issues with every other team pretty much. I mean, Mouse has their issues in that they can't actually win events, but like, apart from Vitality, it feels like everybody's kind of like got a little something going on somewhere. So, like I could see them beating a Falcons. I could see them beating a Spirit. I could see them beating a Fury. Obviously, they've justified that they could do that
on a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
On
But
a good day,
that's
right.
more so my point. It's like you can't really say, I think, that like they are just part of like that super elite club, but like they're kind of like floating around close enough where it's like, again, on a good day, maybe they could make something happen. And that's kind of why I would say, I think, like I said, they could potentially replicate making that major grand final. Would they win that final? I don't think so. But there's still.
I don't think anyone's beating Vitality.
Well,
right
exactly,
now, so
exactly. That's
it's
it.
a little unfair as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. It's just a case of like, who do they go up against in the semi-final? If they draw Vitality, if they draw obviously Mouse, maybe that's going to be difficult. But if they draw a Furia or an Aurora or a Paravision would be an interesting game as well potentially.
Or a Spirit.
Or a Spirit. Like these are all beatable teams, I think, for the Mongolz, which I think is a fantastic spot to be in. So put them somewhere between 4 and 6, I'd say, on any given day, and you're probably in a stone's throw of where they actually do manage to land.
I would say this, like, I think Crowzera is a real deal. I don't know if he's a Senzu. We don't know if he's going to be like a Senzu yet, but he is definitely the real deal, I think, which was a big question for everyone. So once again, Mara is the motherfucking GOAT. He is the magician. He is that guy. Just sitting in a cafe, smoking a cigarette, is like, yeah, that guy. Cobra guy, I'm going to get that kid, right? Like, it's just insane, man. Like, if the government of Mongolia just sponsored a month of Mara's time and made him sit in all the LAN cafes in Mongolia, they would have 2 more Mongolz teams just propping out of nowhere, and just it'd be so insane because somehow I don't know how he does it, dude. Like every time we question him, but somehow he pulls it off, and he's done it again.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like they only made this change because they were forced to make it, but clearly there's talent there. I've seen you're looking in the tier 2 of Mongolia. You're looking at how like controls was actually pretty decent for them as well. Like I'm feeling like most of the problems in terms of consistency issues is with the existing core, and there's still more talent to get. So like I honestly wouldn't mind, not straight away, but like if they keep running into some of these issues, like there's more talent out there. I really wouldn't mind to see a couple more changes. I don't think I want to see them yet, but maybe at some point in the future, give a couple people more a move up and see how things go. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really nice spot to be in, obviously, at the Mongolz, knowing that you've kind of got a little bit of a talent farm behind you, because obviously one of the issues with all of these national rosters has always been, outside of like this quote-unquote golden five that you've got, is there the talent to like maintain that when someone's form drops off, 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years into their career, they get older, their reactions slow down, they just don't have that same drive for the game, whatever that may be. Are you able to replace that player and maintain the level? Well, it seems like at the moment the Mongols actually do have that within Mongolia, and obviously I think in large part, they are potentially a big reason why that is the case, because they have just kind of like hit that zeitgeist, and so many people have picked up the game and obviously chasing that dream. So they might have themselves to thank for that. But it's looking pretty good for the Mongols. Spirits are high, I think, definitely. But obviously, we've been talking a lot about Senzu, in that conversation. So let's talk a little bit more about Senzu and where he's off to. PassionUA have signed Senzu and Try. Senzu is coming in as a substitute, it says, or like a stand-in or on loan or whatever it may be. It's not necessarily that he's like been signed to the team for a contract period. He is coming in as a loan. Which is interesting, obviously, in terms of the terminology. And we also don't know just yet who Senzu's going to replace, but it seems like the rumor has it that it's going to be Grim that might be departing from this lineup. So that's an interesting one. What do you guys think initially from this change? Obviously, PassionUA kind of going, maybe the Furia route, the international lineup route, I guess, in a sense, let's just say that much, bringing a South American player, an Asian player in, and seeing if they can put it all together. I think it's, to be honest, tentatively, I want to say quite an interesting prospect. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. Obviously, I have my reservations about whether or not, at least in the initial stages, it's going to work out. But I think given time, this is actually a potentially very good move for Senzu's career if he can land on his feet.
I mean, we had like the ex-Cold Core in like a lot of events. Sometimes they're just kind of an irrelevant team that doesn't really do much, and sometimes they've had actually really good form. Like I remember, was it the last IEM Melbourne? They're actually in some pretty decent form, and we get to cast some of their games, Jordan, and they were actually like, we were actually looking at them, and they play with good structure. They seem like they had their head screwed on. It's rough that Grim is on the way out. If you had Senzu, Grim, and Try, like that would be a pretty fucking crazy team. You've got JT, pretty underrated IGL in the scene. My big thing is like I'm wondering what Senzu's doing on this team, because Try is an AWPer historically. In the recent games, he's been AWPing for them. And Senzu said he wants to AWP, so is Try going to rifle, or is Senzu going to come in?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more about it's more about Senzu just kind of putting out some feelers out there, and everyone's saying, "Shut the fuck up! You're gonna rifle." Right? So I know for a fact Try is going to be AWPing. I don't think that's going to be changing.
Okay, easy. Well, yeah, I think Try, like at times, has had a very, very high ceiling in his career. You've seen him had some insane games in the past. So if they can kind of rediscover some of that, because he's kind of been tossed around a couple of different like South American teams. Sometimes he's been good. Sometimes the teams haven't been like particularly relevant. There was that little run for a while when you did have like the team with a bunch of Argentinians on it that was doing pretty good, right? And various different. What team was it? 9Z? Yeah. 9Z was kind of doing something.
Because his last team was Imperial. Yeah, it was 9Z. It was 9Z.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see how Try goes in this roster. It's a bit of a mixed bag. But, yeah, like I said, I feel like Senzu can come in for Grim, no problem. But that's not what I want. I want, like, Senzu and Grim and Try and JT IGL, and then whoever the fuck else, I don't really care. That would be a sick team. Like, if they can figure out the cultural issues and the communication barriers and shit.
I agree with Pilski, like 100%. I feel it's interesting. I made a joke tweet saying, "Oh, look at us as a Splice 2.0," when Machine Gun went to the US, except much better firepower. And also, this is, I believe, like the most representation in a team, especially at this level of Counter-Strike, right? I think, which is crazy. Like, you got every continent apart from OS, which is fine. Let's zoom Senzu.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, fuck OS. I see how it is.
It's fine. Yeah, fuck it. It's got U2, right? It's okay.
Honestly, but you got fucking just throw an OS player in there. Let's keep Grim throw an OS player. That's how, like, they have a core 3 and an IGL. Let's just throw a shit OS player in there. It probably won't even matter. Like, that team would be good enough to carry a bum like from Oceania.
They do have Quem, who's like, I've actually liked watching him. He's again comparatively new. He's European as well. I believe he's Ukrainian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And I agree with you. I would have liked for Grim to stay instead of Nikh. I think Nikh is the one who's going to be. I thought he was going to be the one leaving, but now he's going to be the one staying around. Because for me, the thing with PassionUA is it's been just this JT's team, right, for such a very long time. And I really like JT. I think he's got a great mind for his head, for the game. I think it really works well with TC as well as the coach. And the only real superstar he's ever had the opportunity to work with was Elige. When Elige, joined and played with him for a while. And in the beginning of CS2, remember, like, Complexity were one of the best teams in the world at that point in time. Yeah. CS2 just come out and whatnot. And he just hasn't had the opportunity to work with these kind of star players, so to speak. So for him, and again, he's South African, right? He's the one who's sacrificed everything to come over to NA. He's slowly swapped away all his South African teammates into, playing all this mishmash players. And he's played with so many pieces, and some have been good, some have been kind of flat. But the only good player that he's had remaining is Grim, who's now kind of stepped into the star role he was always supposed to kind of occupy. But, you had all these other star players coming in, which is why he's not quite able to really come into himself. But now he's become this rock for the team. And with Try coming in, who we all know how good he can be, Senzu, proven talent. I was really looking forward to see what JD was going to do with this sort of firepower. But with Grim going away, it does kind of suck a little bit. But still, overall, I think it's really cool to see how it's going to pan out. Try, I think, did he give a tweet or was it an interview I saw a few days back where he said, like, things are interesting and it's coming together, except, for Senzu's English, which he didn't say it's bad or anything, but it's like, it's going to take a little bit of while.
Yeah.
But, clearly that is the one question we had. And they seem to be aware of it. It seems to be working out, so I'm looking forward to it.
I've seen a couple of tweets lately saying, like, JT's pretty underrated. Be good to see him with, like, a better core and better players around him. And it's interesting how this has all kind of worked out, right? Like, we have gone away from the American organization and playing with a majority American core to play for this PassionUA team. And then it seems like slowly but surely we're getting less and less Americans, and it is kind of just becoming an international team. So this might actually lead directly to him getting some pretty fucking sick players, and they just don't seem like they are limited by nationality or international borders or any shit like that. Like, they're literally just fucking a mishmash team.
It's just a complexity org, right? With Jason Lake at the helm, it's always been it's been synonymous with American Counter-Strike for literally 20 plus years, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like once he left PassionUA, and listen, I don't blame it. I think it's good to have certain organizations which support the region overall. Like, like the same thing we can say for, let's say, OS or Asia, right? We want to see that to develop local talent. But I feel like once PassionUA picked up the score, and it's a good core. It's a core that's good enough to make it to the majors. It's either top of NA, top 2, top 3 team in NA, but it's never going to really go for these deep runs and S-tier events. And I feel like for PassionUA, I believe they got some money to work with. And they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's try something new. Yeah. And this makes sense because it's not a very, it's not super high-profile signings. It's not like they're breaking the bank to, pick up a simple or something like that. Instead, they're going for these young, very talented players. Sorry?
They're like moneyballing a bit, honestly.
Yeah, they're moneyballing a bit, and I really like it. Like, Senzu, Try. I don't think it's going to cost as much as if they had to buy some superstar in EU. But then you have gold in the form of TC and JD, that particular duo. Why not give them the firepower to see how far it can go? So, yeah, I feel for Senzu, I think it's a good place for him to play as well because, again, it's such a melting pot, an amalgamation of such different cultures altogether, instead of him coming in a team which already has a set kind of identity or a culture or a thing where he might feel a little alienated. He might feel a little, this outsider, so to speak. So I think this is just an ideal scenario for Senzu and see what he can do here.
Yeah, I mean, I think just on the topic of Senzu going forward, it's going to be very interesting to see how he lands in this lineup, because if he hits the ground running here and he actually plays to his level and he's as good as he was in the Mongolz now in this PassionUA lineup, I think that actually sort of opens the door up for him to moving to better international teams. You know what I mean? Like, I almost wonder if, like, I think at the initial, when this was announced, people were looking at it and going, why is, like, Senzu going to PassionUA? Like, that's not a very good team. He could surely be on a better team. He's a much better player than that in theory. That's the conversation I kind of saw. And I kind of get that sentiment. But what I also sort of wonder is, like, are a lot of those top teams kind of looking at Senzu as a bit of a risk, right? You think, okay, what teams potentially could have picked him up? Obviously, there was rumors about Na'Vi, FaZe are in a bit of a spot, G2 potentially, like a few names, right? A few international teams like that are towards the top end. Let's say in the top 10, if you're a team in the top 10 that's an English-speaking team, Senzu may have been on your radar. But you might look at that and say, well, A, we don't know how well he speaks English. B, we don't know how he's going to integrate culturally. Who is he like as a player? We don't really want to take that risk on a guy that we really don't know. Like, there might be a potential upside, certainly, but there is a very big potential downside as well. If Senzu comes in, just completely mental booms, and the team's just GG'd as a result of that. Like, he's a young kid, never played outside of a Mongolian team. I mean, obviously played in an NKT, but that was a long time ago, and it's a completely different circumstance to playing on a tier 1 team. So, I think a lot of teams, a lot of orgs actually are probably looking at this now, maybe like 6-month period for Senzu in PassionUA and kind of seeing how this goes as a bit of a taste test. You know what I mean? If it goes really well, I think that opens the door up definitely for Senzu to move his way kind of like up the ladder a little bit in terms of these better teams. And, this is potentially what turns him from being, Asia's best player ever into one of the best players in Counter-Strike ever. You know what I mean? Like, he might, if this goes well, get the opportunity to play on some really, really good teams, some very good international teams, and potentially put his, skills to the test at the top level. And, again, we'll see, like, if that is possible or not. It feels like, to be honest, like, it feels like nothing's really impossible for Senzu right now. Like, the world is his oyster. If this goes well, if he dedicates to it, if he learns English, if it, there's a lot of ifs, obviously, but if it all goes the way that it should, and he hits that same level that he was able to hit in the Mongolz, I mean, what really realistically is the limit? Like, as a player, as a rifler, what is the kind of team that he could find himself in? And I think a very consistent, top 5 team is easily an option if things go right for Senzu. So that's really cool as an option.
It just the language thing, which again, man, if you just want to learn Counter-Strike English, it's not that hard. Like, he can 100% do it.
I don't think it's going to be too bad for him initially because, like, they picked up Try, right? They're keeping Nikh, so I'm assuming that they're going to keep just being able to farm the NAVRS a little bit, which is going to be, I don't think like some of those language issues and things like that and playing some of these NA qualifiers is going to be as punishing, but we'll see where they actually make their base. And if they continue to change their roster over time, I'm curious where they're going to be able to kind of slot themselves in terms of VRS and qualifying for things.
Also, just to kind of tie it off, it's kind of cool in a way, the history of Asian players playing internationally. There's only been 2. All right, 2 infamous stories. One is Machine Gun, one is Bentet. Right, and we all know. Yeah. And they were both the best players, Asian players, at that in their particular time as well. So Senzu joins very hallowed company, by the way. And third might be the charm. Let's see if it works out.
Yeah, let's see. I'll just say as well, by the way, anecdotally, and I don't know what your experiences are, guys, like learning a second language, but the best way to do it is to just be in the environment where you have to speak the language. And he is now out of that bubble where he can get away with speaking Mongolian, and he's going to have to communicate in daily life as well in English. So I think that will really expedite the process. Yeah, I mean, he's 19 or 20 or whatever, so it's not maybe as easy as when you're growing up and you're young. But even if he's got like a base level of English, I think, this is the sort of period where he will just be able to pick it up, and it will happen quicker than you think, to be honest. I really don't see it being a massive long-term issue. I think 6 months down the track, this will not even be a conversation. Maybe even 3 months down the track, it won't be a conversation anymore.
Bro's gonna have a South African accent soon.
Yeah, potentially, exactly. It just happens, like, you just pick shit up when you have to. So it is what it is.
The language is not what worries me. Just the fact that one thing we've known from all these Mongolian players. Now I don't know who individually, but we know for a fact that they really like staying at home. They really don't want to. The moment they're done with events, every interview I've spoken to, like Mazzinio, let's say even Techno near the end of the season or something, they're like, yeah, I just want to go home. I just want to relax. And listen, I get it. I totally get it, right? We all want to do that, have a little bit of home time. But when you're this young, you've tasted success with your home team, and you're a star at home, and now just plucked out and placed far, far away from home. You're here for now. You're here for the entirety of the season, and you get a little bit of homesickness coming in. It can affect you massively. I know this personally as well. It can affect you. And considering, again, if I knew nothing about, if the Mongols never had any problems in the past about all the travel and not being home and everything, I wouldn't have an issue about it as well. But I think that is going to be the big issue. I think that's going to be just a culture shock. Living in America or wherever or Europe is very, very different than you're traveling for. When you're traveling in this travel mode, right? You're going to hotels and everything. When you're living there, when you're kind of settling down, even if it's temporarily, it really affects your mindset. You have to switch your mindset up. And for me, that is going to be the ultimate test for Senzu. Not anything in the server, not anything with the team, but he himself and his surroundings. And I hope he's ready for it because this is what he wanted.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it'll go okay. I think it will be pretty good, but I hope it will be really good. You know what I mean? That's kind of the thing that I would not envision, you know what I mean? But like, I really want there to be some story to be told about Senzu as opposed to, he just went to an international team. It was kind of okay, but it was kind of mid, and then his story fades away. I think that would be very sad. Anyway, let's move on from the Mongolia talk. We'll talk some Chinese Counter-Strike now as well. Probably don't need to spend too long on this one, but just because it was Tyloo's first event that we got to see with Zero in the lineup, and they did very well. They didn't drop a single map. They won Pinnacle of Battle here, which was a qualifier for the upcoming Blast event in Rotterdam. 2-0 over Lin Vision. Obviously, that speaks to itself. 2-0 obviously over Rare Adam and a 2-0 over Fengdar. And look, none of these were too close. I mean, obviously that 1917 on Inferno, but still a 2-0. A couple of OTs here as well, or an OT at least against Lin Vision. But generally speaking, I think, solid enough stuff and a pretty good first outing for Tyloo, which is nice to see because they really haven't been playing in a whole lot. Like, they've been skipping a lot of events. Obviously, they're not playing in this season of ECL either. There's been a bit of a question mark around what's happening with Tyloo. Like, Zero's come into the lineup. That news was announced, and we were all really excited about that at the end of 2025, but we barely have even seen them play. But at the very least, from what we've seen here, things are looking pretty good. So I suppose that story continues. I don't know that there's too much more to really say about it, but just thought it was worth mentioning that they've played a game or two with Zero, and they've done pretty well, and he's actually done pretty well as well. He dropped some decent numbers, so can't really complain.
Yeah, I mean, I would just kind of
go.
tie it into what we're seeing in like the Chinese tier 2 scene. It's just that there's actually a lot of pretty good tier 2 Chinese teams going around at the moment. Like, you got Morningstar, you got Change the Game, you got we just saw this fucking Last Bullet team in ECL. Like, some of them play with good structure. There's some good strats there. There's some good individual players. We just saw this guy Miami like go full Florida man last night and just fucking go crazy.
His name's Miami.
And like honestly, that was pretty good to watch. So like,
that's awesome.
I want to see like more. Like, I'm sick of this fucking 5-man Lin Vision team. If I have to keep watching them play, I'm gonna fucking bash my head into the wall. Like, let's fucking pick up Suki or some shit. Like, pick up some of these tier 2 players like Tyloo have done, because there's some actually good like Chinese players kicking around there. Even fucking Rare Adam have done it. Like, Rare Adam have got Tiger. It's not working out yet. They got Chen King in for their academy team. Like, just keep fucking going. Like, I'm sick of seeing these same 5-man rosters. I think it is time to start picking up some more tier 2 Chinese talent because they're doing really well at the moment.
Yep. Especially with the changes around a bunch of the other teams as well. Obviously Mongolz are making changes. They're looking as good as they have. You've got this Nexvoid roster coming through as well. That's maybe going to be a bit of a threat. Obviously FlyQuest, I think, are looking better and better as they start to kind of like work through their changes too. So if you're a Tyloo, if you're a Lin Vision, and you're resting on your laurels a little bit and saying, we were the best in 2025 and in 2024, we were certainly up there as well. I would say there might be a rude awakening toward the middle stages of this year. You might start to drop down the VRS ranking as a result.
Before I was saying, like, let's fucking merge the teams or some shit, Like, let's get, like, a Lin Vision Rare out of merger. That would have been fine. It's very clear that's not going to happen. Like, if I have to fucking, like, watch Emilia just go, like, even for like the fucking 50th event in the row and they lose and they're just average. It's just like, fucking hell. Like, can we take a risk? Can we do something different? Like, they're an okay team. They can sometimes be a good team, but like, there's some actually interesting talent there. Like, why are we just doing the same shit over and over again when like things are so competitive,
Yep.
It's very frustrating.
All right. Well, that's enough, I guess, on that particular topic. The next one, like I mentioned, obviously Nexvoid, which is Erkast's new team / the old Atox core, Accuracy, Zesta. MIQ's not there yet, but as far as I am aware, MIQ will be joining in place of this decent guy. He'll jump in there, and that should be happening next month in March. But the reason I wanted to talk about this was that they won this MESA opening MESA Pro Series opening thing, which was just a domestic Mongolian tournament. It's not a massive tournament. There's not a huge prize pool or anything like that. But, they were able to beat the Huns twice pretty comfortably as well. Obviously, that's a pretty good early sign. I think that, immediately this team kind of comes back, and I wondered, are they going to be washed? We haven't seen these guys competing for, at least in some cases, a year, in some cases longer. Like, it's been quite a long while, actually, since Erkast was in a competitive team, because obviously he was coaching FlyQuest for a good while as well. But yeah, they came in and they kind of smashed this particular tournament. So quite intrigued to see what they're going to be able to put together. And, it'll be probably still early days for them to be in a conversation for qualifying for the major. I think that's probably not going to happen until, the Q4 major of this year. Cologne's too far, like too soon for them. But if things get rolling for them nicely and they get to compete a little bit more within the Asia sphere, maybe this is an interesting team to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah. I'm fucking wondering what's going on with the Huns. Like their roster looks better than ever, but they're really struggling to do anything at the moment. They're getting beaten by this team. These guys haven't even played for a while. Seems like the Atox core and Erkast are popping. So if they get MIQ as well, and he's in the same kind of form as Accuracy and Zesta, that is another pretty good team. The thing is, the other Mongolian teams are not very good at the moment either. Like fucking Chinggis and Eruption are not beating the tier 2 Chinese teams right now. So I don't know what's going on with Mongolia, but the big three, like Chinggis, Huns, and Eruption are all kind of shitting the bed at the moment. So I don't know. They need to get their shit together a bit more.
I think the pieces are there, but I think they're in this part of the yearly cycle, I guess, where the pieces are just in the wrong places. Because here's the thing, man. For the Huns, you get controllers coming in, and we saw what controllers did when he was in his short stint in Mongolz, and we all said, I'm like, he would have picked up a few things from how the Mongols plays. He would have picked up a few things from Blitz and from Mara. It's got to get into Huns, and Huns are going to be fucking good. We were fucking wrong. Right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
I don't get it though. All due respect. I played on one of Erkast's first teams in Oceania. I've played with the guy before. I love the guy, but holy fuck, we have Score, fucking Controls, and Nine all on the same team, and we can't beat Erkast, who just decides to play after fucking not even competing.
How long has it been? It's been 2 or 3 years.
We're getting fucking owned by bad players in a fucking domestic event. What is going on, bro?
Did Erkast pop the fuck off or something?
He's doing pretty good, yeah. How is this happening to the Huns?
He was the first Mongolian international export, I guess you could say. So
yeah. I remember him posting on the forums. He was like, "Hey guys, I'm a guy from." This was before Mongolian teams.
Before you even knew what Mongolia was.
Legit, half the people on the fucking Australian Counter-Strike forums were like, "What is?"
Isn't that a civilization from Age of Empires too?
Legit.
These guys are real.
Hey, I'm a guy from Mongolia. I want to play in a Counter-Strike team. Let me know, can I play? He
just fucking wrecked everyone.
Yeah. I remember everyone really loved Erk back then. He was definitely a favorite.
Right. When I played
likable.
on a team with him, he didn't fucking speak. He fucking he could.
Dude, but that was even the story.
Anything.
That was the story even when he was playing on Greyhound. They're like, we had to get rid of him because he basically half the time he started coming in fucking Mongolian in the middle of a fight. So just, rewire the brain.
Reminds me of, dude, it reminds me every time I play a Faceit game. The thing is, right, so if you play Asian Faceit, which is mainly a Singapore server, there is a 65% chance you're going to have Mongolians on your team. 70%. There's so many Mongolians to play Faceit right just because of the Mongols, which is really cool to see again, right? Talking about how, just having a team like the Mongols is able to come as new players. Anyway, I had a 3-man stack the other day, and it's 2 Mongolians, 2 solos, right? One want to join in. They start speaking in Mongolian, and you can just go, it's such a badass language, though, right? And I'm like, all right, hello, guys. Oh, hello. Don't worry, we'll talk in Mongolian, and then we'll speak to you in English when we have to. I'm like, okay, cool, that works for us, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
But who the fuck was Erkast talking to in Mongolian?
Nobody. He just started coming in the heat of battle.
It's bro, it was the same shit for so many fucking Asian imports. He had PZ. I played on a team with PZ Kid from Malaysia as well. That dude was that dude was my push to talk button is H, so I can't comp. He was lurking, and I was like, bro, I'm trying to IGL. I'm like, bro, you need to tell me what the setup is on the other side of the map. He's like, oh, I can't reach my push to talk. Like, change it. He's like, no. No, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna keep rolling.
Yeah, no fucks
Fuck
given.
it.
He was older brother of
Zeva, yeah,
Zeva, yes.
all the throwbacks.
Xavier.
I love the Asian imports into the Oz scene. Let's see less of them now. We had the Hong Kong boys for a little bit, but doesn't seem like
Yeah,
that's,
you guys have proper
continuing
immigration
anymore.
now, right? So yeah,
Oh yeah, we're being racist again.
being racist again. Well, that's what happens. You see us
Let's go.
start to struggle.
Jordan's from one of the more racist states, so he's in full support of this.
Let's go. Yeah, Counter-Strike racism wins again, as we know.
Hey, at
obviously.
least you're not an Irish racist, right? I mean,
True.
technically you are.
All right. Look, moving on.
Half.
Another
From the
interesting
racism.
change. Well, no racism. Maybe I don't know.
Boros leaves Jijiehao again.
Yeah.
Whoopie do. Move on.
Yeah.
I generally don't give a shit.
What is there to say about this? What is
I
there
didn't
to
wake up
say?
to talk about Boros leaving Jijiehao. This is my 100th episode. I don't care.
All right. Okay.
This is my veto moment, all right?
All right.
You know.
On that note, Counter-Strike
He
announced that
bought
the Esports
himself
Nation
out
Cup.
of the team.
Why-
He comes
bro, why
back
didn't-
and he leaves again.
Why
What the
didn't bro-
actual fuck?
Why did bro just copy paste his same tweet from last time? Like, or just retweet it. Just retweet the one from like a year ago. Don't even fucking write a new one.
You know what I
Just
found
fucking
funny?
Run it back, bro.
What I found funny about it, the funniest part about it, I mean, there must be some bad blood there because, like, he tweeted at HLTV, he's like, please remove me from the roster as soon as possible or something like that. It's like, what? Why do you even feel the need to say that? Like, it doesn't even
I
matter.
mean,
That's kind
I
of
don't know if
based.
it's the org or the team. Like Boros, I've seen Boros. He's an intense guy, especially when he's playing in the game. So I don't know if he's like stirred up.
I'm just
some
gonna
shit.
say,
Yeah.
from all I've heard over the years, I think it's him.
I think it's him. Hey,
I
look,
think
that,
it's a-
that,
I've
org,
heard some-
that org has also done some interesting thing. I can
Oh, yeah.
interesting things I've said from personal experience. But like
Look,
yeah,
he
I don't know.
did the entire thing when he when he left last time, I believe it was, and it was like, yeah, there's so much match fixing happening in Asia and China. Again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm sure we know there are rumblings of all this happening, right? The ATOX and everything, but he never really named any names, if memory serves me right. He just like brought
Called out
statement
somebody,
out there, right?
I think.
Fair enough.
I just want to hear. I think the what do you call it? Like the time period has elapsed, right? The period has elapsed where I can talk about this. Where certain teammate of his told certain bird, which whispered into my ear, that he once went to an event on a different continent with nothing but his passport
Okay.
because he just forgot about it.
How?
Just
Did he
insane.
bring his gear?
Everything.
No clothes?
I mean, when I say just his passport, it is only his passport, nothing else.
But he raw dogged the flight. I mean, that's kind of alpha. That's all I'll say.
I mean, that's better than most.
It's also like,
gamers.
listen,
Most
if I was a
gamers will miss
manager,
the
a coach,
flight.
or a teammate, I'm like, mate, like what?
I'm not even that surprised. Some
Yeah.
gamers are pretty good.
So you're not
anyway,
fucking locked
just look. End of the day.
Look,
let's
he's
put
got raw
Issa-
skill, but he's cooked. So yeah.
Let's put Issa back in the lineup. Then he'll leave in another 3 months. Boros will go back in. And look, yeah.
Cycle continues. It's like a perpetual power machine. Like, you know, that thing, it just keeps going around in a circle. Yeah.
Huge.
Anyway, Esports Nations Cup. I have something to say about this, Jordan.
Say something then.
India number one.
I've been, especially with the return of racism and how we have so many racist teams out there. Like, we got the Mongolz. There's so many
Aurora.
South American. We have so many South American teams. Aurora. We have. Is Fury really racist right now?
No.
I don't know, but the jury's out on that one. But anyway, the jokes aside, like you have so many, like, it's no longer just the international teams, of course. Vitality exists and all these, and Falcons and all these guys, but having a national tournament, I think would be very, very cool. I've always been a fan of this. However, in the VRS era, this is
Yeah.
a thought that's been echoed by a lot of people on the internet. Messiosa said this as well. Even I didn't make a tweet about it because there's enough people talking about it. You try to like kind of shoehorn this thing in November, which is like literally the week before the major, the Singapore major. How's it going to happen? Is it going to be like a VRS thing? I don't think it should be VRS ranked. In which case, if you're Falcons and let's say there's a Russian team playing, are you going to lease out Monacy a week before the major,
No
right?
shot.
Are you gonna lease out Nico for the Serbian team a week before the major?
shot.
No fucking way, right? Like the only team who probably could play would be Aurora and Mongols just to go there farm a little bit of money, right? Also, it could be kind of like a prac thing for them, considering Mongols should be. I mean, hoping that they start later in in a major stage 2 or stage 3 or something like that. But apart from that, you might have a couple of teams, national teams playing here. But apart from that, I don't really see this being a thing.
But they have to minus Sorry, don't they?
Yeah, and Nedic. But like they could, just have a couple of stand-ins, a couple of ring-ins, and farm a few more points for FlyQuest as well, because that'd be a core 3, right?
No, that is assuming there are VRS points. If there's no VRS points, I don't think there's going to be VRS rank.
I heard there was VRS rank. I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of news going around with this thing.
How does that work then? If you play with your core 3, do you get
the points? Yeah, that's the big question. But the thing is,
FlyQuest and you have
that
3
shouldn't
Aussies.
happen, dude. That's so scuffed up.
Yeah,
that's so
I don't know.
That shouldn't be happening.
My initial reaction to this was when they announced Nations Cup, before it was even a conversation around Counter-Strike. If you remember, they just announced Nations Cup as a brand. There was people saying, "Oh, this would be great for this game or this game or this game," and I was like, "Okay, this works for PUBG, obviously, which has a Nations Cup, and it's a really, really good event. I actually love Nations Cup in PUBG. Overwatch had the Overwatch World Cup as well, which I think was a very successful event for them. There's a few games that it seems to kind of work in, but my immediate reaction is this just doesn't work in Counter-Strike. A, because the VRS thing is certainly a factor, but
okay,
B, because
it is VRS, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
B, the calendar is just so fucking stacked that who has time to go to this tournament, right? Especially if it means you're not going as a team. If you're going as a team, sure. But if you're having to depart from your team and now you're playing for Team Australia or Team, China or whatever, and you're from whoever, FlyQuest, Tyloo, Limvision, you're preparing for the major, it just doesn't track.
It's gonna be kind of just a fun event, I guess, right? It's not gonna be a really.
Where's the room in the calendar for it though?
There is a room, and that's the most annoying thing. Just the fact that it just kind of got shoehorned in, and just everyone's like, just trying to make it a thing, especially announcing it this late as well. If they'd done it a couple of years earlier or a year prior, I think it would have made more sense. But look, it's a VRS tier ranked, 2 ranked thing. I guess it's okay for certain teams out there. Yeah. But even if you're FlyQuest, right, if you qualify for the major, which they should, are you going to really play this, dude?
What teams are even going to play?
It's just qualifiers. You need to qualify. So presumably, maybe there's a world where tier 1 teams, tier 2 teams don't even compete, but PUG teams can make a roster and 5 Aussie blokes go.
There'll be a lot of PUG teams. But my question is if Mongolz or Aurora or Bait, these are the only teams that could probably just win this
and
event
realistically,
with their eyes
they
closed.
probably will do that. That's probably what this will end up being, frankly.
Mongolia will have a team. We all know Mongolia's going to have a team, right? It's going to be Chinggis. I don't think even they need to
China
come
will have
together
a team,
to form a team.
obviously.
The Tyloo, but Tyloo's going to play the major. But maybe,
but that's the thing. If you're a team with less expectations at the major, like Tyloo or Bait or something, do you just go fuck it, let's try and win this, and then go to the major straight after?
I can see how it would be a decent warm-up sort of event, for you to kind of play. But again, there's so many factors in this, right? You're not going to be playing against most of the times real teams, right? Is that real prac you want to, even if it's official prac, is that something you really want to do? You might, you can say yes, you can just smash these guys and you can feel good about yourself. Number one. Number two, are going to be starting in stage 1 of the major, in which case you will literally have barely any breathing space between this event and the major as well. So I feel like it's so subjective based on which team, which country, which region you're talking about. But one thing I can say clearly is I doubt we're going to see any team here which is going to excite you. As in, you're not going to be seeing...
I forgot about Parivision, honestly. That's a full national squad.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to play this. I mean, they're they're an elite team right now. Even though it's just been 2 or 3 events, they're fucking elite. So I don't think they're going to waste their time here. I mean, everyone's eyes are on a major, right? And this thing is just I feel it's going to eventually just be a fun event you're going to watch when you're having dinner and a side. That's what I'm going to be doing if, looking at the teams that's going to be signing up. Also, I think the cutoff or the qualifiers in June or something. Yeah. Which is also just when the major's about to happen, Cologne, right before Cologne, I believe. So
I think if you got all the national squads, it could be interesting, actually. I was wondering, but I'm looking, I'm 3D Max, Gentlemates, fucking, who else could you get?
Mongolz,
Bait,
Aurora,
like I said,
Bait.
Pain, Mongolz, Aurora.
That's the thing, right? Why would any of these top teams from their respective countries ever show? What's the impetus for them to come here?
VRS points.
You're going to get a second, third best team from their region, apart from the money. Yeah, fine, money's nice, but
We'll see.
Also
Look,
VRS
I will say,
tier
and
two.
I think I take a bit of a different track on this than a lot of people in CS. That I kind of like nation-based events. You know, I actually like nation-based events. I find they're very easy to kind of get behind, and that's potentially because of my experience in other titles. Like I said, I watched the Overwatch World Cup when it was kind of a thing, and obviously PUBG Nations Cup as well. I think these events are like really, really easy for people who are not necessarily endemic viewers, like people who don't watch a lot of Counter-Strike, to actually pick up Counter-Strike and watch it and go, oh, I'll support the Australian team. That's what I used to do, like with the Overwatch World Cup or the PUBG events. Like, obviously I was at the time kind of like invested in those games anyway, but I felt a little bit more of an ease to just get behind a team in those kinds of events rather than like watching Overwatch League or the regular PUBG like PGS events and stuff like that. I think it's just so much to be said for having like that national sentiment, I suppose. And I think it's cool. It's just I find it's very difficult to kind of fit somewhere into the ecosystem in Counter-Strike. That's the only issue that I have. But actually, as far as the concept of a national-based tournament is concerned, I think it would be pretty fucking cool to see a team Australia. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a cool concept.
Fresh info. No, it's a cool concept. I love it. Like we always used to have this back in fucking ESWC back in the day, for example, and all these old things. And I think national based events, I wish it had a combat, but VRS just doesn't make it work. And also, by the way, for something which we all miss, I miss as well. I apologize. Only 3 teams from one team is allowed,
3 players
to participate. But 3 players from a team, so you're not going to get the Mongols either. Even you're not going to get
3 out of 5 of the Mongols, and then you can get Senzu, and might not be so bad.
You can, but you can have your academy players fill in as well. But the VRS points will be given out to everyone. So, for example, if you have Huns and Chinggis Warriors combine your forces, make it a 3+2, both the teams are going to get VRS points. It's so what?
Yeah,
So
that's
why
what I'm
would
saying.
I
It just doesn't
help-
make sense in Counter-Strike. Every other game that doesn't have VRS, as a concept, kind of maybe makes sense. Like Valorant players get the
VRS,
opportunity to go and play this big event, or
It would be great.
whatever, PUBG players, Overwatch players, anything. Crossfire, any of these games that happen at the EWC, for example. But with VRS, I think it's too the ecosystem, the league, or not the league necessarily, but just the way that Counter-Strike works, it makes it very difficult to make a Nations Cup event style kind of like work, unless it's purely for fun. And there's no VRS points attached. Maybe there's a bit of prize. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, I think we're kind of going around in circles on this topic.
I just saw a comment on the Reddit thread about it. This is where I picked up the 3 players thing. Someone said, like, why don't you just get Bibian with 3 Aussies playing? I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are the kinds of fun conversations that you can actually have, by the way, when these kinds of events exist, which we never really have had the opportunity to do before, at least, in more recent times when it comes to Counter-Strike. I feel like, there's always, like, we always, even on this show, are like, oh, what about our, like, dream team from China? Like, what if we mixed, like, Lin Vision and Tyloo? But, like, you could actually do that for real if you had this kind of Nations Cup.
You could offer $1 billion, they still wouldn't team up together, because that's how Chinese teams are.
Maybe.
Fucking.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's move on. That's actually all of the topics for the week, or for the episode, at least the Counter-Strike related topics. But we've still obviously got to get into the episode 100 celebration. We promised over the years that we would tell a couple of stories.
Do I get the drinks out? I haven't eaten anything yet all day.
Mate, if you want to get a drink, go get a drink. You can.
It's 11:45 a.m. in the morning, and my stomach's empty, and I'm not sure if I
totally forgot that, by the way. I haven't got a drink at my table, so I mean we can skip it if you prefer. That's fine.
It's fine. We'll skip it. We'll do it next time.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it for episode 200. What do you guys want to start? Do you want to? I've got a bunch of messages from some of the friends of Geographically Challenged.
Let's do the messages.
We can do the messages, and we can put some of the stories in between, or we can do the stories. But if you want to start with the messages, let's start with the messages.
You run the ship.
All right.
The messages might open up.
It will
stories
loosen
as well.
us. Yeah. So I don't want to, there's no particular order to this. People just sent in, I asked a few people to send in some messages. They're obviously all guests that we've had on the show before. But I do want to start with Nikh, because Nikh obviously was the first guest that we had on Geographically Challenged. He was on episode number 3, he was on episode number 5, and he was on episode number 22. So shout out to Nikh. Those that know Nikh know that he is a bit of an OG when it comes to Counter-Strike. Obviously, he's not super involved, but I think it's relevant for us to start with Nikh as our first guest appearance. So let's hear what Nikh had to say.
Hey there, Geographically Challenged family. It's Nikh here, formerly of Xccurate Asia and now PaperX. First of all, congratulations on 100 episodes. That's crazy. It's nice to know that I was a small part of the journey at the beginning, some of the first few earlier episodes, but Seems like you guys abandoned us when we switched to Valorant. But anyway, huge congrats. What a milestone. My question to you is, do you think that SEA Counter-Strike will ever find the success that a team like the Mongolz has? Will we ever see an SEA CS2 team win a major event? Anyway, that's it. Thanks again for having me, and all the best. And here's to 100 more.
All right. Who wants to take it?
Ciao, Nikh.
I mean, yeah, we already did. It's your fucking teammate, but not playing Counter-Strike. That's for sure. That's the answer, to be honest.
Do you want to answer this question, or do you want to like run through all the?
No. We'll do each one at a time. I think.
Yeah. Okay. I just like short answer, right? I feel Southeast Asia right now is comparable. It's analogous to, if you look at South America, it's mainly Brazil, right? And think of Brazil as Mongolia and China put together, kind of, right? And you have all the other countries. You have Uruguay, you got Paraguay, you got Chile, Argentina, and everything. And you might have a couple of players, like you have Tri, for example, a couple of small, some of the guys. There are like a handful of players here and there. Same with Southeast Asia. We have a handful of players who have a lot of raw talent, some puggers out there, but there's no real leadership. There's no Mara, there's no Fallen, there's no one of that experience and kind of vision in the region. Also, the thing with Southeast Asia is just so fragmented, man. You're talking about like 10 plus countries. Everyone has their own culture. Everyone has got their own language. It's not like, you have like a Vietnamese star, like let's say Crazy Guy, and you have someone like, Bented, and you have another player like, let's say, whoever, like Benkai from Singapore. They're not just going to play together. They would still want to play with their own countrymen. Unfortunately, the talent is just so distributed, even though they can play together. And there's no talismanic figure in the region, in any of the countries in Southeast Asia, which is going to gather these pieces around them. So unfortunately, I feel like we'll probably have to wait for CS3 before we see Southeast Asia kind of have resurgence again. Because I feel like CS2's launch kind of, and with Valorant and all of that, I feel it didn't quite manage to reach the zeitgeist of SCA, that FPS space, sadly.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
The only one thing I'll say on that is that a couple of those Filipino kids that we've been seeing lately at the events like Extremesland and the ones that we were casting, Pilski, CEGC, they were pretty impressive. So I think, look, very unlikely. And I would say, not within the next 10 years probably. But if we were to see it from any of the Southeast Asia countries, the top of the list right now, in my opinion, probably would be the Philippines. I think that's where I've at least seen the most talent coming through in recent times. So that's probably my take. Thanks, Nikh, again, obviously, for the kind words. And it was, it's always nice to like hear from Nikh, and I think it's pretty funny to like look back on the history as well of like when we started Geographically Challenged, he was doing CSGO to Asia, and he talks about the success that we've had with Geographically Challenged. We have like 4,500 subscribers on YouTube now, so we're kind of a big deal. And but then he's obviously fucking made PaperX, he's made Valo to Asia, he's an international superstar in Valorant. So someone's had a little bit of success, and someone's had a lot of success. We'll just let you guys guess which one of us has come off a little better for it. But,
I mean, the thing is, he always knew he had the skill set for it, and we knew since the Extremesland 2019 after party where he managed to pull together a group of investors to buy a bottle of liquor, going around. And that's the skill set that you need to get investors on board to bring people together for a common cause. And
he was very convincing. He was very convincing, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Most expensive bottle of Jack Daniels. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
All right, let's move on. Let's hear from another one of our early guests, Mr. Erkast.
Hello guys, this is Erkast. Congratulations for the 100th episode for the Geographically Challenged guys. It's been such a long run. It's also been ages since I last joined your guys' podcast, and you guys been doing it consistently for such a long time, and I have a mad respect for it. You guys were covering everything that our region can offer, and my question would be, when does Impression is going to invite me or take me to a nice dinner?
That's a good question. Erkast was on episode 10, by the way, so it has been a long time. It's probably been about 5 years since we had Erkast on. But I would say, I think Extremesland is probably a good shout, right? Nexvoid, Erkast's new team, qualify through the Mongolia qualifier. Impression always seems to find his way to these Extremesland events as well through the Southeast Asia qualifier. So at Impression, if you're watching, be ready to buy a dinner for Erkast.
Buy him a
Extreme
rotisserie chicken. That would be my
chicken.
my suggestion. It's his favorite.
Well, what's the bachelor's handbag, as we call it? You know what that is, Bleh?
I don't know. Usually it's no. Tell me.
The bachelor's handbag. Usually.
I have a different bachelor's handbag.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
You didn't finish the sentence. It's probably for the best.
The bachelor's handbag in Australia is, like, I mean, I don't know if you know, but in Australia, you can go to the supermarket, you can buy a roast chicken, a whole roast chicken, and it comes in a bag. And that's the bachelor's handbag, because you walk out the shop with that, and that's obviously what a lot of bachelors eat. They don't cook for themselves, they just go and buy a roast chicken.
Very different from what I had in mind, but let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
But you currently have food poisoning, so look,
It's true.
It is true. All right, well, since we've heard from Erkast and he's brought up Impression, I think it's pertinent that we get Impression's take on the situation and a question for us as well. So let's hear from Impression.
Hey guys, what's up? Impression here. Congratulations on the 100th episode of Geographically Challenged. I guess what I want to ask is when will Bleh invite us to a banging wedding in India? I'm really looking forward to that. We're all growing old here. It's been a long journey, and I really want to, have a good get together sometime really soon.
Episode 8 and number 27 as well, by the way, for Impression. So it's also been a while for him. But that's a possibility. Hey, Bleh, if you want to just get married, invite us all to a wedding. Erkast can get his dinner, and Impression can get his wedding, and it'll all work out.
We could just go for someone else's wedding, right? It doesn't have to be my wedding. It could be like a friend or something, right? It could be someone else's. It could be, I mean,
my main question is if Blair's going to be the groom or the bride, because I mean,
listen,
you've got the hair already.
I could be both. I
ironic?
could marry myself, right? I could marry myself, and I think, especially with what's happening nowadays, I think it's completely fine. I think it's like very reasonable.
This will be a bit of a teaser, by the way, because I just found it ironic. It's completely there was no plan or anything like this. This just happened, but there's actually 2 people in this list of messages that have brought up a potential Bleh wedding. So I'll just put that out there. I don't know why that's a thing, but
why me?
You better get on it, Bleh. Like, come on.
No, I'm fine.
I'm just saying.
Also, it's funny because one of the best weddings I've ever attended was Nikh's wedding.
Yeah.
Which happened in India, in Chennai. It was like at the Taj, and it was like 3 days of just.
That's what the expectation is, bro. Like, you're the only one that can pull that off.
Bro, the open bar was just like pouring, like, just like insane amounts of alcohol at 4 a.m. It just never shut down. I was like, this is really bad for me. Great time. Great fucking time. Best wedding ever.
The bar is there, just saying. So hopefully...
The bar is literally there, yes.
In another 10 years, or by episode 200, we will have achieved a Bleh
10
wedding.
years. Let's give it 10 years. Yeah, that works.
All right. Well, speaking of weddings, I mean, you can't not talk about the next man. Let's hear from Conky.
What's up, Elfish, Pilski, and Bleh? Episode 100 Geographically Challenged. It has been a journey from when Asia was like kind of good, then kind of shit, then kind of good again. I don't know where the fuck we're sitting. It's been awesome to follow the journey with you guys. Been a part of a few episodes. Obviously been watching the entirety of the way through. It's been brilliant to watch what you guys have done. Now, question for you. Favorite event you've ever worked, straight up. And then also, as a side note, favorite moment. Doesn't have to be from that same event, but would love to hear from you. And obviously, here's to 100 more. Congrats, guys.
Thanks, Conky.
I miss Conky, man. I haven't hung with him in such a long time.
He's just a generational talent. Minimum amount of
just good energy.
Effort equals maximum amount of performance. He just really is one of the greats. He's just got the voice.
So what was his questions? Favorite event and favorite moment?
Favorite moment.
I think I'll say for me, my favorite events to work probably were the ESL Challenger Melbourne events. And that maybe would be a bit surprising, obviously, because I think the obvious answer would be like IEM Sydney or IEM Melbourne. But just in terms of I don't know, I just really enjoyed those Melbourne events because the crew that we had, it was such a nice vibe to have like all the Aussies involved, and again, like obviously I like working with all the talent that we end up working internationally and stuff like that, but like a lot of us have obviously grown together throughout the years, and it felt very special, I think, to be able to like have an event where we were all there, we all had a role, we were all doing a good job, and it was obviously a very good production as well. So I enjoyed those events. The vibes were good, the green room was great. I miss those ESL Challenger events, so that would be my favorite events.
That's very, very touching. I think, yeah, those events were great, but I think just due to the sheer scale, I'll pick one CS, one Val. CS was definitely, you know, an IEM Sydney kind of, or IEM Melbourne situation, like getting to cast like a quarter or a semi or something in front of an Aussie crowd and having them be so like receptive to the casting. Like the Aussie crowd is one of the most like receptive in terms of like, you know, when you're casting, they're reacting to what you're saying, they're reacting to the game, they're very in it, and that kind of energy is just fucking like electric.
Yeah, I remember the
love,
fill, by
like-
the way. Do you remember when we were casting? It was Sydney. Would have been 2023. It was Bet Boom versus someone.
It was like complexity. Yeah, it was
Bet Boom complexity.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the best game necessarily, but we had to fill for like
we
20
never
minutes.
get the best games.
Yeah, there was like some tech issue, and we were filling for 20 minutes, and I was like, "This is the best fill I've ever done." It was just talking random shit with the crowd.
I
watched it back
say
sometimes.
anything.
Yeah, and I was like, "That was
Really?
great." Yeah,
I don't even remember that. You got to send that to me. But yeah, the crowd is so receptive. For Val, probably two moments would be like the Jakarta Ascension Grand Final. That was fucking
No one cares
crazy.
about Val.
No one cares about Val.
Pilski. I'm
And
kidding, I'm kidding,
Tokyo
go on.
Finals. Tokyo Finals is crazy.
Tokyo Finals. That was
Bro,
fun. I
like-
watched a bit of that. Yeah.
Bro, 10,000 Japanese fucking fans in an arena. Crazy shit. Crazy shit. That was like Aussie crowd levels. That's like a more polite Aussie crowd. Like just as energetic, but like not going to step out of line.
And perfectly in sync, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Great chance. Great chance. What about you, Bleh?
I think my favorite event would have to be also one of my earliest ones, because this is the event I always keep going back to whenever I like reminisce. But it has to be IEM Taipei, because it was like my first, I think it was my second international event ever, but like my first big one. But this also was in it was in Taipei, and I don't think we ever went back there ever again. But it's also
that
like
the
my first
Mongolz one?
event. The one where Mongolz won as well. So like everything coming together. The one where they beat Renegades. But also just like, you know, my first opportunity to work with all these, you know, S-tier talent at that point in time. Like, you know, Andrews, there was Moses, there was Lauren, there was Vendetta, DDK, all these guys, right? So like for me, also just the memories from there where every night, because everyone's super excited. Oh my God, there are brand new plays. You can see like everyone just walking around this convention hall, massive place, but just everyone in anime cosplay and shit. Everyone's like, huh, this is fun. And they were like, guys, you know, call time. We got to get call time. Like fucking running in. It was a hell of a trip. And I think like for every one of us, at least every talent who attended an event, that will be in at least a top 10 events of all time. Was it like the biggest? Absolutely not. You barely even had a crowd. It's like, you know, there's an Asian CS thing altogether, but just like the vibes at that time. This is before everyone was jaded and dead inside.
yeah.
So the vibes are immaculate, and that will always be my favorite event.
What about favorite moment?
10 years ago. Crazy.
That was 10 years ago. Actually, literally exactly 10 years ago. I think it was in February of 2016.
Yep, sounds right.
That's crazy, dude.
Favorite moment as
Yeah.
well, as opposed to favorite event. I actually have a lot, to be honest. I mean,
Hard
there's
to
one
pick
I
that.
remember working my first ever international event, which was a crossfire event in 2015, and my favorite moment actually just sitting on the plane on the way home, thinking, "Holy shit!" Like that was something, and that was kind of the moment where I was like, "Oh, if I could do this for real, then I would really like to do it." And I think that's where like it switched from just being kind of for fun to being like, oh, you know what, there's actually something here potentially for me. So there's that. Obviously IEM Sydney 2017 casting that Renegades game, 2018, sorry, it was Renegades versus Mouse Sports. I think it's gonna be pretty hard to top that particular game. And the IEM Sydney 2023, my parents came to watch. That was the first time that my parents actually watched a live event that I had worked on, and so that was like already nearly, you know, probably like 8 years into my career.
Bro, you're not even from fucking New South Wales. Like my parents were like 20 minutes from the venue. They didn't even fucking rock up to watch.
They drove.
They didn't even come.
Yeah, they drove down from Brisbane. I said like, you got to come, you got to watch this. Like you'll finally get it. Yeah, they were the first. They were literally. I walked outside. I was doing a vlog. I've actually got it on the vlog. I walked out. You know, you go and look at the line, and they're literally the first people in line. Like they were there to be the first people in the venue. They were like, yeah, how are you going? Yeah, I think that was a pretty eye-opening experience for them, getting to see me working, you know, and doing what I do. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pilski, what about you?
Probably that Jakarta final for Val, I gotta say. Like for CS, like the good thing about CS is like Jordan did get a good CS game. Like he's talking about the Mouse Sports Renegades game, and that was like a home crowd as well. So that's like a special game. But when you cast like a special series as a caster, it's like a once in a career series. It's like probably the one that usually resonates with you. And I don't think I ever got to cast like a game like that, honestly.
We
CS.
almost got it. We almost got at the ESL Challenger event, remember, where FlyQuest was going to make or was Greyhound at the time, were going to make the final, but they ended up losing the OT to BNE, I think it was. And, didn't make the final.
That was rough. That could have been a good one. But I think the end of that Jakarta series, because it's like fucking like 7 hours long or some shit. I'd lost my voice already. It was the 5th map, and it was like multiple overtimes. And like fucking full like home crowd. It's like one of the best Valorant games I think that's ever been played, even though it was only a tier 2 game. It was like a crazy fucking final. If you know anything about Val, like you should probably watch that game. It's pretty sick. For CS, best moment, I mean, again, I think like I resonate with what Jordan was saying about like the whole Aussie crew. Like I feel like Blair is like an extension of the Aussie crew, but I wish we could have had him like more in the Aussie crew and like working with us more, because like even though we're not like tier 1 casters or anything like that, like we feel like we always like punched above our weight and did like a better job with a lot of the like DreamHack shit and challenges and all that kind of stuff, like B stream games and whatnot.
I think that's the one thing which really personally gets I think a lot of people kind of forgotten about, is like how when you guys used to do a lot of the B streams of all the ESL stuff and all that. It's just like, because you guys used to work together all the time and had that, you know, not just camaraderie, it's literally just, you know, fucking about all the time. It had a vibe where the B stream didn't feel like a B stream, right? It felt like, you know, it felt like an actual separate studio, which is what it was, right? Yeah. And I feel like that's something which was really underrated at a point in time, and I feel like a lot of people miss.
Jordan got really triggered recently, but before you do your point, it was the funniest thing. It was like I think we were doing Chengdu B stream, and I was in Queensland in Jordan's house, and someone just goes like, I think Jordan's doing play-by-play commentary, which he's been doing for like more than 10 years on a Counter-Strike game, and some guy goes like, oh, this caster's all right. Never heard him before. Like, what caster is it? Jordan's like, fuck me, bro. I've been casting Counter-Strike for more than 10 years. The people still don't fucking know.
That's always going to be the case, dude. Like, I think my favorite... That's happened to be so many. I was like, who's this guy? Who's this black guy? Like, is he new? I'm like, fuck's sake, mate.
You don't even know.
I think my favorite moment, okay, there are a couple, but I think the one moment which always sticks out to me, it's not like the best moment, but it's like a moment where I just went like, the fuck am I even doing here? This is insane. Like, was when I was, I did the quarterfinals of a major in PGL Antwerp. It was with Vince, and we did Copenhagen Flames versus Ents. Not exactly it was like, you know, the least interesting match of all the other playoffs we had over there. And again, remember, this is where, you know, FaZe went on that historic run, right? They had that era where they won Antwerp, Cologne, and Cato as well in that same season. And I remember, like, the crowd was like, it was like half full. It was early in the day, right? It was also like a matchup which no one really were super interested in. But I remember, like, getting done with it, and I'm just like, all right, well, that's it. You know, it's done. It was my first arena cast, like a real arena cast, right? And it was also a major. And I just like got done with it, went down, grabbed a smoke, and I'm like, yeah, that was fun, right? And then I think it was Connor, it was Machine and Connor separately, and they came up and they're like, dude, you first arena ever? I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, you fucking slayed it. You didn't sound like shaky, whatever at all, and all of that. And that's when it sunk in, like, you know, because I started out as just covering all these Asian ESCA open games, right? Like back in 2013, 14. I was just I didn't know what the fuck I was doing for the longest time, but I thought even when I got into broadcasting, especially in India, South Asia, I was a commentator. It's only when I started working, you know, the IEM Taipei's, which I brought about earlier, and all these more serious events, international events like DreamHack Opens, is where they were like, listen, we have casting pairs already, so we don't have someone to work with, who I didn't have anyone to work with at that point in time, we can put you to desk. I'm like, fuck it. I was never a desk guy. Let me work on the desk. So that became my thing, so to speak, for the longest time. And to an extent where I actually enjoyed even more than casting nowadays. Like, it's become something I've really honed my craft in and all of that. But to cast a major in an arena. And you know, after that, I did say to myself, like, you know what? I think I finished that thread, that line, that journey, right? Like it actually, I don't know how the fuck it happened, but it happened. So for me, yeah, I think that would be the most memorable moment. It was just like finishing the cast. I even have a photo with me and Vince. I just like fist bump Vince, and I'm like, all right, that was a hell of a ride. Now back to the desk we go. Right, that was cool. That was a cool moment.
You don't always really get to choose what you end up doing a lot of the time. Like I never thought I was going to be a fucking caster when I started. Like like doing the small ESL shit. I was a player, and then I think wasn't like the first thing I did was fucking desk. But like you know, with all the fucking small broadcasts that we had, there was no desk. So you either cast or you get the fuck out, basically. So I just became a caster as well. Sometimes you don't really pick what your role is on the broadcast. You just kind of fall into it and do what you can.
Yeah, but I think I resonate with those moments as well, Bleh. Like I don't think people really will understand unless they've kind of done it, but there's always that time where you feel like you've been part of something a little bit special. You know, when we did, for example, when we did an IEM broadcast, and you kind of just like, I mean, obviously I share this with Pilly and obviously with the other guys that I've worked with, and you kind of like, you know, just look at each other and you're like, we just fucking did something like really cool that like only so many people ever have the opportunity to get on a microphone in front of 10,000 people, or, you know, however many people it may be, and you're like, wow, that was something that we've experienced, and
no one, and you will never understand it until you do it. Like, and that's the thing. That's the crazy thing, because I've worked in so many arena events leading up to Antwerp. I worked in a desk in front of an arena and everything, and you know, I've obviously seen, you know, Harry's and Hugo's and Chad and Alex and all these guys cast all these games, and I've been there in the arena. And of all the people, I should be someone who gets what it should feel like until you actually do it. When you feel the ebb and flow of the crowd based on your pauses and what you say, it's a whole different ballgame altogether. And just to be a part of just a handful of people in the world who have ever done that, right? I think it's very fucking cool. And you're never gonna get it until you actually do it. And I think we're very lucky that way and very thankful.
Anyways, thanks, Conky, obviously, for the multiple questions. That was a good conversation. But let's crack on.
Shout out, Conky.
Speaking of fucking blokes you can cast in an arena, that guy's got a fucking voice.
No, speaking of guys who never fucking shut up as well, you know, as we've done, given that multiple questions. But look, to another guy that never shuts up, let's hear from Teatime.
Hello boys, this is Teatime. Congratulations on your 100th episode. I never thought you would make it this far. I really thought that Pilski would have stopped working with you by now, Jordan, because we all know how difficult it is to work with you. Two quick questions. One's a serious one, one's a joke one, so whatever. First question is that when I'm seeing, because you know, now I'm part of the Furniture Nation Counter-Strike, but obviously you guys are the OGs, so when I see people who aren't you announce for Asian broadcasts now, I'm just like, man, this guy's not going to know what he's talking about. He's going to be like, oh, ho, Asian CS, herder. When, you know, obviously there's a lot more to that. When Michael and I first started getting announced for Asian CS, did you guys feel that way about us as well? Did you guys just go like, hey, you know what, fuck these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. Why are they being hired? They're not going to respect the game. That's my first question. Second question is, Bleh, if you were to get married and have a traditional Indian mehndi, which geographically challenged guest / host, not including me, do you think would do the best at the mehndi choreographed dances? All right, boys, good luck to another 100 episodes more.
So specific.
Love Teatime, honestly. He's got his own vibe, that guy.
I will. Yeah, I got a chance to meet him in Bucharest, I think, from one of the RMRs, right? I think like a year back. Like, super nice guy, super chill. Actually kind of different from his online persona, I feel like. He's actually different, which no one will recognize on the
I like his online persona though. I like people who are a little bit spicy. I like people who are not afraid to like speak their mind and throw out an opinion or a spicy take. It makes for an interesting broadcast, and it makes for good contrast. And I think I think a lot of fans don't appreciate that a lot of the time, you know.
Yeah, well, that comes with the territory. That's how it is. I can answer this question though very, very simply. I think when Yumi and Teatime came out the first time, like, obviously, you know, I've always kept like a finger on the tier two scene, at least back in the day. Not so much anymore nowadays. But yeah, when it came out, I remember like we were kind of busy doing our own stuff as well, and we did like, oh, that's an interesting new pair, right? But I immediately liked what they brought to the table because Teatime was always like super. He really did give a shit, right? He really did give a shit. I think that's very important. And Yumi's always been a very, very competent, color commentator. He's been on the desk as well. I've seen him grinding it out throughout the years as well. So, Johnson Teatime, no, I don't think I went the who the fuck are these guys route, Apart from maybe a couple of events, who the fuck? Why the fuck did these guys get hired instead of us cunts? But then we were too expensive, so yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even think I really ever thought about it like that. More so, I think the way that I looked at it was, well, Teatime obviously is from Pakistan, and so he's like endemic to the region anyway. So I was like, that seems fair enough to me. And Yumi's his partner, and also someone that has some heritage.
And you thought Yumi was Chinese.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that guy's Chinese, so he fits right in.
That's great English for a Chinese.
No,
it sounds British.
I just knew that they were in some way kind of like tied to the Asia region beyond. Oh, we're just working the show because we're getting paid to. That was kind of like the sentiment that I had. So I never really took issue with it. To be honest, these days I just whoever gets hired, whatever. It's kind of a no big deal. But
that's legit what I was gonna say. Is like I feel like, especially when I started and like I just come off the back of being a player in the region. I think I used to be like, we're talking like 10 years ago, I used to be like a bit more elitist about it. I'd be like, oh, we have our own small scene, like let's keep people in the region like covering it. And I used to care a little bit more about that kind of shit. I feel like nowadays I don't care at all. Exactly the same as what you said, Jordan, where it's like whoever gets hired, and it just kind of is part of the game, and you just like, everyone's hustling, you're doing what you can.
Agree.
And for them specifically, that exactly what you said, Bleh. I feel like I get upset if and to be honest, I don't, especially nowadays, I just don't watch like if I'm not doing it, unless it's like a big event, or I'm specifically interested in one team, and then maybe like the cast is just on and I hear it. But like there's a lot of people that I feel like I probably haven't even heard cast, but I have definitely heard Teatime and Yumi cast and cover these events. And I think that like there's certain people that earn your respect, and you go like, oh, that person actually knows what they're doing, or they're good at what they do. And I think you definitely get less mad when, like you guys have said, A, they're endemic to the region, and B, they actually either know their shit or they're pretty decent at what they do. So that's how I feel about it.
I think for me, the being endemic is not necessarily something I really care about, but just the fact that the endemic means they should be knowing about it, right? But even if both of these guys were not from Asia at all, I still feel like as long as you care about it, as long as you give a shit about it, that's what really matters at the end of the day.
And even nowadays, I feel like a bit of a fraud. Like I feel like I don't know what's going on a lot of the time. So like,
just know what's going on half the time.
Legit. Like back in the day, I feel like I had my finger on the pulse. I'm like, I know how the game should be played. I've been fucking in the demos. I've watched every team. I'm a massive fucking nerd. Like I cared about it. But like nowadays, after like doing it for a decade, you get a little bit more like I feel like you let your grass loose a little bit more loose, and you just kind of go with the flow a bit more and just focus on what you're doing, I guess.
It's also like, at least for me personally, I won't lie, I've been way more invested in the tier 1 circuit for the past few years, so I have not really had a chance to like, I'll pay attention, but I won't really watch any of the local Asian teams playing, unless let's say it's Tyloo going with FlyQuest, so that should be a fun one to watch, right? Apart from that, I just look at the stats, look at the storylines, and it's really hard to keep track of all of that because of how much CS we have happening. So to have, other casts as pairs, for example, when ESL Impact was still a thing before, it got killed off, like let's say you had Lucy and Brandon, who used to kind of be the champions of that scene as well, right? So I think it's cool to have, especially for regions or any marginalized, sects, so to speak, right, in the game, to have kind of like champion the voices, because we are, at the end of the day, audio visual medium where we are the voice of it. So answer the questions few time. My for the wedding, which probably was never going to happen, I would pick, of all the people, this might sound crazy here, but I'm going to go with Stunner.
Okay.
Oh. The reason being, he gets it. The reason being, I've had a weekend in Mumbai with Stunner once for a small event called DreamHack Mumbai, which happened back in 2018, I believe it was, end of 2018. And let me just say this. Never has Mumbai seen a storm run through it like Sana has, and they have regular storms. All right, the man is fun, right? And look, he's just this bubble of completely psychotic energy, and that's what you need in an Indian wedding, especially when you have like a mehendi dance and all that stuff. And I guarantee, listen, if I get Jordan in, Jordan's going to be very polite. He's going to be a great host. He's going to stand there. He'll like shake his ass a little bit, but that's about it.
Stunner's going to lead the dance. But anyway, yeah.
Stunner's going to lead a dance. He's going to be like, you guys ain't stopping yet. He's going to make sure everyone's getting fucked up. Everyone's having a great time. So yeah, Stunner would be the guy. And Teatime would probably agree with me on this. Like the guy is, he's got that Asian blood in him, even though he's from Alabama.
Yeah, the adjective that comes to mind when I think of Stunner is fried.
Yep.
Like
he's a weapon. Absolutely fucking fried. Yeah. That's why I love him.
The one thing is though, I think he stipulated geographically challenged guest. So technically Stunner's never been on a geographically
guest.
Guest or host. So I mean, Stunner's a great answer anyway. But if you had to choose someone from geographically challenged, I mean, the one that comes to mind for me would be Mac. I think Mac's an easy choice.
Mac's the first thing I thought to say. Yeah,
he's a fucking cool unit too. So
Mac's got the vibes that he would dance till he's red in the face. He'd start doing like fucking, I don't know, man, like one hand stands and shit. Yes, Mac.
That guy can move as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks Teatime for the question, and let's jump to our other nearly. Okay, the reason I say it this way, by the way, is nearly favorite guest, and I'll explain it a little bit later on. But Teatime and Mac, by the way, are the two most appearing guests. Neo would like to think that he is one of those, but he's almost our favorite guest. But anyway, we got some words from Neo.
Hello, fellas. Congratulations on 100 episodes. Quite the achievement. I don't think there's many podcasts in Counter-Strike that can say they've reached 100 episodes. I think you're part of a very elite crew, so absolutely fair play to what you've achieved, and I'm really glad to see the successes still going year on year. So congratulations once again. My question for you is, if the Mongols dropped off the face of the earth today, they were no longer a team of 5 playing, do you think the Asian scene would be in the worst space it's been? But, let's say the last 5 years, for example, you got Tyloo, who are ranked 91st in the world, Linvision, Rare Atom, non-existent, the Huns are pretty mid, FlyQuest, the bang average. Do you think the Mongols are kind of single-handedly propping up what is actually fundamentally maybe a bit of a dead scene around it? Let me know.
Yes.
I think it's below the peaks, but it's about the same. It would be about the same as it's been in the past, is how I feel about it.
I would say, I feel like Tyloo, Linvision, FlyQuest are kind of around the same level of the, tier 2 teams of the past in Asia, if that makes sense. On
average. Maybe not their peaks, but on average.
But like FlyQuest is maybe a like for a Greyhound, for example. Tyloo's a like for a previous Tyloo. Same with Linvision. They've had some pretty good moments here and there. So I think we'd just be kind of the same.
Win an event.
Yes, and Tyloo's won some events. Linvision's made it fucking deep in some majors. It's not just been Mongolz. There's been some other things happening around it too.
I think it would still be, just to answer the question direct, for me, I think if Mongolz never existed, right, and we compared episode 1 of Geographically Challenged with today, I would still say it would be a plateau with a slight incline. I think Tyloo is still a pretty good team right now.
Yep.
They won Fisher last year. Can't deny that fact. The Mongols thing is hard to answer because all these Huns and Chinggis warriors and all these guys, we wouldn't even be talking about them if the Mongols didn't exist, right? They're the reason why there's such a resurgence in all these, all the young talent over in the region. But yeah, Mongols do hard carry it, but I feel like it would be a disservice to completely discount what Tyloo and to an extent Linvision have done in the past at least 3 years, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of agree. Well, let's jump into another one here. And
what's your favorite guest, Jordan?
Sorry?
You said Neokai's your favorite.
Nearly. He's nearly my favorite guest because he's nearly the most appearing guest, but he's not the most appearing guest.
That way. All right.
Yeah, Teatime and Mac are the most appearing guests on Geographically Challenged. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Someone that is definitely not the most appearing guest, but is a more recent appearing guest. I don't even know his name. He seems to change it every day. So let's just hear from this guy.
Yo, it's Viridian or Bowser or whatever. Huge congrats for the 100th episode of Geographically Challenged. What an achievement with respect to all the time spent editing, research, talking, news sharing, and putting players on the map like ASAP. A question I have for everyone is, what is one big goal that you have, and one small goal. This can be related to just online or outside, whatever. But yeah, keep up the grinds, and here's to a successful 2026.
All
Cheers,
right.
guys.
Yes, man.
Whatever. Thanks for the
Good in, Eddie.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Whatever.
Eddie Bowser Zero, whatever his name
Eddie
is,
Bowser.
something like that.
Oh.
Big goal, small goal.
For the podcast, I guess, right?
For everything, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, maybe for the podcast, I'd say.
I felt it was for the podcast because he did say like, you know, online, offline.
Okay, I think if we're talking specifically for the podcast, I would just like to do. I suppose this is a small goal. I would like to just do more in-person episodes. Obviously, they're very difficult for us. Like, I actually do a lot of in-person episodes. I'm sure you guys see them, right? Like, but they're often with, somebody that's working at an event with me that is like tangentially related to Asian Counter-Strike, but not with you guys, because obviously, Pilly, you're always in Korea doing Valorant, and Bleh, for some reason, we very rarely end up at the same events. I had hoped that the IEM Australia events were going to be, recurring things, obviously, for yourself and for us, but that didn't end up being really the case. And obviously, there's not often that many IEM Australia events either. So
or Extreme Lands,
or
and all
Extreme
these,
Lands, or like the thing is, like, I'll end up at one of them, or Pilly and I will end up at one of them, and then you'll end up at another one of them. But we're not there. Like, it's just one of those things where our paths, although they cross a lot online, we don't actually cross paths that much in person, and that's something that I was a little bit sad by. I kind of, like I said, I had high hopes that if we had some financial sponsorship for Geographically Challenged, especially for episode 100, we could fly you down, and I think it would be really cool. We could have done some pretty cool stuff because I'm building a studio. Shout out. Just quickly, boom, there you go. You can see
There
it.
you go. Hell yeah.
So we could have like done something, but that'll come, I guess, in the future at some point. Just more in-person episodes with the three of us, I think would be pretty cool. Big goals.
Could be unhinged.
Yeah, big goals. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's kind of hard to make a big goal. I think as far as Counter-Strike podcast is concerned for Asia specifically, like, it's a very, very niche thing. So to like go and say, oh, we want to get 10,000 subscribers or 50,000 subs or 100,000, or, we want to make a living doing this and have this be like something really big. Like, I think it's just unrealistic, really. Even if like the top 5 teams in the world of Counter-Strike were Asian teams, I don't think that this podcast gets dramatically bigger than it already is. We might double our listeners. Let's say if we would double our listeners on average, so like instead of averaging 3 to 5K, we were averaging like 10K views an episode. That to me would be a big goal, I would say. But even that wouldn't be enough necessarily to like make this like a full-time thing or anything like that.
Thing, yeah.
But I think the big goal would be if we could, make a couple of $100 an episode each per episode. That would be really cool, because that would make it be like, oh, we're not just doing this necessarily for fun. We're actually doing this as a means of supporting ourselves financially, which at the moment it just definitely is not. I actually looked, by the way, at the overall statistics for so what you can do on YouTube is you can like put videos into a playlist, and I've obviously made a Geographically Challenged playlist, and when I click on that, I can look at the analytics for that particular playlist, and I can look at all the views and numbers for all of the videos in that playlist combined, and the dollar figure for 99 episodes of Geographically Challenged, what I have earned off of YouTube, $365. So that just shows you how much the ad revenue is.
You got $1 for every day of the year.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
Buddy.
So that's almost 6 years of work for $365. So if we could get to the point where we were making, let's say $100 each per episode, that would feel like we're making a lot of money. So I guess that's the big goal.
Fair.
Yeah. I agree with, like, I think for the podcast, I'd say the same thing, right? Like, I think having in person would be really cool. Obviously, can't have that all the time, but maybe every 6 months I think would be nice. Considering we barely have any together, right? So maybe an extreme stand or something. Zowie, listeners watching you, getting all of us together would be fun. But yeah, I think the big goal, considering, I think Jordan just nailed everything there, right? It's always a niche podcast. It's something that we did for the region. It's not something we're looking to make anything out of. But I think for us, considering the consistency, and even if viewership isn't that bad, for considering it's such a, again, a very niche, a very specific podcast of a specific and esports title in video games as a whole, getting sponsors, I think, would be really cool. We had that for a little bit as well. I think that was nice to have. Just something to show for like the effort we put in, which you guys everyone's been putting in the effort, showing up all the time, despite us being in different time zones all over the the world and all of that. So yeah, I just echo your big and small dreams. I think that'd be cool.
Small is get some more guests, because I feel like the guests. I feel like I get replaced with the guests most of the time, so I'm not experiencing the guests because of this or that, or I've got something else to do. But yeah, I feel like in the early days we had like more guest players and things like that. Like it'd be good to get some more people a bit more endemic in the scene on and kind of discuss their own point of views. I think that's always really important. Big goal. Has been the same for a while, and it never fucking happens, as kind of Reese has mentioned. But let's surely, Geographically Challenged is the desk and cast for a CS event at some fucking point. Like just
the desk.
Asia
I
event.
actually think a desk.
Even just the desk. Like
have us on the desk.
we have a fucking host and 2 analysts, or we have a potential like tri-cast. Like we could even just do all of the event. Like just hire us 3 for a fucking Asia event, and we could actually cover it. I feel like pretty well. It's a subjective opinion, but that's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Let's go and hear from another one of our favorite guests. Actually, Kay, who's going to be the next one that we hear from, featured on the 2 most popular episodes of Geographically Challenged. So thanks, Kay, for all the views.
Hey, Elfishguy, congrats on making 100 episodes of Geographically Challenged. I was part of maybe like 2 episodes of it. So I'm glad that you're still making these cool contents. As we all know that Asian CS does not really have like any content similar to yours. So it's a great content to have, especially for someone who is from Asia. And please keep making all these contents. I don't really have any question for you, but please talk more interesting stuff in your content in the future, because whenever I make my own podcast, whenever I run out of idea or maybe I don't really have anything to talk about, I always watch your content and copy your topics. So please keep making these cool stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, well, obviously not much to say. Thank you again, obviously, Kay, for jumping on the podcast a couple of times.
Such a nice guy.
I wish we could return the favor. The problem is I don't fucking speak Mongolian, so I can't watch his stuff and take anything from there. But
it's a one-way street. Skill issue, buddy.
He does like all the interviews with like, in the past, I've seen like a lot of interviews with some of the Mongolian players and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I wish I could like watch this. But even like the YouTube translate just basically fucking doesn't work with Mongolian. So wish we could steal some of his content, but alas, it is what it is. But yeah, again, like I think it would be really cool to be able to go to like an extreme stand with you guys, both of you, and have Kay on the episode as well, because that's traditionally where we've done those episodes. So those are the kinds of little things that I'd like to sort of see happen a little bit more often. But yeah, unfortunately, it's a little bit too small fry for that. But yeah, anyway, sure you guys don't have too much to say on that one. So
I mean, yeah, I don't know him that well, but he seems like a cool motherfucker. That guy,
I hung with him for the MESA event I did last year with Dinko and everything. And he's like super chill guy.
Yep.
And even when like shit was, there was so many delays in day one of the arena stuff and all of that. Like he was, trying to like put out a lot of farts, even though it was not necessarily a part of it. He was just kept coming in there as a commentator and everything. He did a lot of work, but also just overall just a cool cat. And I think Mongolia especially is lucky to have him, because you have the Mongolz, but you also have someone like him who speaks incredibly good English and is kind of like a bridge for the Mongolian audience with the international side of things, so to speak, because I believe not everyone can speak English, so to speak, amongst the fandom. So I think it's just a cool person to have for that particular community, which is just growing day by day.
Yeah. All right, last cab off the rank. It is one of our favorite guests, the ever interesting MacMate.
Geographically Challenged. Mother cluckers, a round of applause. 100 episodes is a grand achievement, and I'm proud of every single one of you 3. 4, hold on, 3 of you? There's 3 of you. Yeah, no, I watch, I swear. Look, 100 reps, probably a bit too much for growth, which is maybe why it's been... It's good for endurance, though. So hopefully, look, you're all, improving on that endurance. I know, Jordan, you've struggled with that in the past, but it's something that, everyone experiences at times, and it's normal for a growing channel or man to go through these things. And I hope that with the continued reps, the continued podcasts, the endurance will get a little bit better over time. That being said, you know, you're all handsome. Go on, get out there and bloody smash this potty straight out of the bloody park. My question for you three good-looking stallions is, what is the best single APAC roster move in the last 6 years since the potty's been going, eh? Go on, answer. Go on, get them. Go on, who is it? What is it?
Well,
I love Mike.
What do we say to that? I mean, I don't even know off the top of my head what. I mean, I think.
Do you have any performance issues, Jordan? It's very specific to you, not to me.
I'm just saying, I'm totally happy with where I'm at in that regard. This is all I'll reveal on the podcast.
If you're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah. As far as roster moves, I think obviously the obvious one is like, Senzu to Mongolz. But like beyond something like a boring answer like that, what would it maybe be? I think potentially like.
Did he say the best or most surprising one?
I think he said the best. The best in the last 6 years since the podcast. And so, okay, let's just disregard Senzu to the Mongolz because that kind of makes this a boring answer. I would say potentially Jamyoung being picked up into Vici was certainly one that's worthy of note. Zaka to Orping potentially for Linvision as well. After obviously G departed that lineup, I think that's another potential shout. What else have we got to think about? The best roster move in 6 years. I mean, this is going back a long way.
Oh, okay, 100% has to be Tyloo with Serbians and Mongolians on the roster. That was the best.
Fuck yourself. Fuck yourself. That's the most whack roster of all time. Yeah. Fuzi in Asia is the most whack one.
That was a big one.
Yeah, and Rare Adam that's the worst. And the best, I would say, is keeping Senzu aside, because again, the obvious one. Yeah, I think Jamyoung being picked up by Advent was the best move for Chinese Counter-Strike in the past 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, Advent's been a great talent scout. Mercury and Mosey also have been pretty fucking good pickups, especially now that Mercury's become an IGL and all that kind of shit. So those are probably the ones off the top of my head. Just the ability of like Mara and Advent to pick up players out of relative obscurity and put together some of the best lineups.
He did get picked up. When did we start podcast again? Which day was it?
2020. It was
okay,
like
so
April
he got
2020.
picked up. He got picked up before that.
Did he?
Yes, 2019.
Really? Wow.
2019 October. So we can't bring that up.
That's a long
Can't
time.
bring up Jamie. Like literally 3 months back, something.
That surprises me, actually.
I know. Ooh, now it gets tricky, right? Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Mazzinho 910 coming in.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
it's
that's
a double thing.
Potentially it, but
it's a double thing, but you got to remember, because till then the Mongols were like, this upset team IHC and all of that. But it's when Mazzinho and 910 finally kind of found their groove, which took 6 months.
Yeah,
that's when you could see the rise of the Mongols. It wasn't Senzu coming in and just popping heads, which got them the the laurels of this team can beat some S tier teams. It was Mazzinho and 910 becoming this rock solid foundation, especially with the roles they play, right? The anchor, the lurk, alongside being the opper. So I think, after Senzu, it has to be these two guys.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, there we go.
I think that's a good answer.
There you go, Mac.
Well, we've got, like I said, we had a couple of stories that we haven't divulged just yet. I think the one that we do have to at least tell is the taxi incident. Which we've been teasing. We've been teasing for such a long time, and this is a story for you two more so than from me. But I have my little tangent on the end. So
you were there for the fallout the next day.
Yes, yeah. I came in late.
Okay.
I'll set the scene. Let me set the scene, and then
you set the scene.
You guys set the scene. So at the time, there was an office in Indonesia, an ESL office in Indonesia, and we were doing ESL Pro League Asia. And ESL Pro League Asia would last for about 2 weeks, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. And there was, for whatever weird reason, some set of circumstances where we couldn't have the same talent there the entire time. So there was, I think, Pilly, you were there for the whole time, maybe the whole 2 or 3 weeks. Bleh was there initially, and then I came after Bleh and like replaced Bleh for the last week or something like that. Maybe there was somebody else. Maybe was Mac there as well?
There earlier.
Maybe Mac was there first, and then Bleh was there, and then I was there, and Pilly was there the whole time. And for whatever reason, you know, I had responsibilities here at home, and Bleh was doing this and that and whatever. So that's how that initially started. That's why we were in Indonesia to begin with. It doesn't make sense why there was no event in Indonesia. It's just that's where the studio was. But the second week or whatever week it was that Bleh and Pilski were working together had ended, and this was the night that Bleh was essentially going home the next day, and I was arriving on that day. So I arrived or the day that Bleh left, or roughly around that same time. So you guys had a good night, and I came the next day, and the story about the night, well, this is the story.
All right, Mitch, you could try and correct me in the moments where I, go away. But I'm sure there are a few moments in that trip where you have no recollection, so you have to believe me on this. Right?
I remember the whole thing.
The whole thing? Fuck yeah, fucking legend, dude. So we call up Kevin Susanto, Asian Forsaken's older brother, more popularly known as Xccurate, who's a fucking gangster in Jakarta, right? And he's like, I'm like, hey man, Kevin, we got a day off, night off. Where do we go? He's like, dude, you got to come over here. I'm going to, you get over here. We're going to have some hot pot. We're going to go to Soju bar. It's going to be a great fucking night.
What the fuck even was that? That was such a weird, place to go.
It was such a cool, it's kind of like a strip of like all these, basically a conglomeration of all Asian cuisines, right? You had a KBBQ, you had a hot pot. We went to a hot pot place. And of course, I had like a brand new white T-shirt, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, this is a fucking stupid idea." And it was really good. And I think there was like this famous singer in Jakarta, and he sees Xccurate, right? And he goes to Jay. He's like, "Oh, Jason," they shake hands, and me and Pilski like, "Fucking hell, man, Xccurate's fucking famous here." And he's like, "Oh no, bro, I'm not that famous." And dude, and Xccurate was like, "Fucking like," it was like. He had some tracksuit on and really nice Yeezys and whatnot.
Yeah.
And did we drink at the hot pot place? Yeah, we drank.
We might have had one or two, but it was like this spicy ass fucking hot pot because
really spicy.
I eat spicy food, and Blair is always just like, bro, like I don't know that many people who eat spicy food, so let's just eat the spiciest hot pot possible, which was probably the first mistake. But yeah, like Xccurate, I think Xccurate fucking paid for the meal as well.
He paid for the meal, and we were both mad at him. We were like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, no, welcome to Jakarta, motherfuckers. And the thing is, Jordan, I can handle spice very, very well.
I'm sure.
And so can Pilski. But this had both of us going like, oh fuck, this is rough. Even I was like
fucking lava, bro.
That was pure, just like chilies, right?
And also the fucking seafood was really good. So I was like, yo, let's get some crab
yes, you're having seafood as well.
What a mistake.
Oh, fuck.
You're on eating prawns. Let's get fucking fish.
And I don't even like seafood. I'm just having the beef, right? And then we go to the Soju place, and it's like Soju bar, and it had like fucking 20 varieties. And I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking Valhalla for me, right? It's amazing. This is where warriors go. And we're just like drinking. And Xccurate's like, all right, guys, I'm going to get us a table. I'm like, no, this is fine. Like, it's kind of like a dive bar feel, but it's nice. No, wait up. And then he comes back out. He's like, all right, spoke to the guy. I know the owner. And we go downstairs. We didn't know there was we didn't know there was a fucking basement. We go to the basement, a fucking club. It's a Soju club, Jordan. I've never seen a Soju club. The Sojus, and there's a fucking DJ popping off. You can't even hear yourself think, and it's fucking loud. And I remember one moment, like, Pilski's just polishing on bottles of soju, and I'm drunk too. But I'm like,
it wasn't even the alcohol that was the problem, because I was like, at the time I was a bartender, so I was like,
a lot of alcohol, Jordan.
Already.
It was
and
a lot
I was
of
like,
alcohol,
I could drink this much, no problem. It was more like the combination of the seafood hot pot and the drinking
soju.
A ludicrous amount. At one point in the night, I remember sitting at that table, and me and Blair were just like, I don't even know if you tapped out, but Xccurate, at one point, I remember offering Xccurate to pour him a drink, and him just going no. And I went, oh, okay, one for me then. And then I offered him again. He goes, no.
I remember that.
Oh, one for me then.
So I had a tap, but I was starting to sip a little bit. But he was like, one for me then. And I'm like, this is getting kind of out of control. We also had shots. Someone offered us shots, and we were like, yeah, I think it was tequila or something. It was like, dude, tequila with soju with seafood.
It was like
great.
some kind of soju. It was like milky soju or some shit.
It was milky soju. It wasn't like clear
horrific.
soju. Dude, it tasted amazing, dude. It was
great.
fucking great. It was
great.
Like
juice, bro.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's a problem. And then the night passed by. Then finally, Xccurate said, "All right, guys, no, we told Xccurate, we're like, we're gonna head right now because we were fucking wrecked." And it's like, "All right, guys, I got you a cab." I'm like, "Dude, stop, getting us stuff." And they paid for everything. You got us a cab. And it's just, look, it's Jakarta, right? And it's kind of like a second world city, right? Better than most cities in India, for example, South Asia. But it's not exactly like Singapore or something. So even the cabs are like, you don't necessarily get like high-end cabs. It's like a brand new fucking Merc, like a beautiful fucking Merc, right? And the driver, he's even got like, a jacket on. In Jakarta, it's fucking hot. And I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking fancy, right? Now, the car, I think they do drive on the left-hand side, right? Yeah, they do. They drive on the left-hand side. And I'm sitting on the left-hand side of the car.
I was on the wrong side of the car.
You're the wrong side. So Pilski's side is the road. My side is the pavement.
Yeah.
And we're in a car, AC's on, and Pilski's like, "Mr. Bleh, I don't feel so good." And I'm like, oh shit.
And the fucking problem is we would have had time to pull over, but of course, Mr. Taxi Driver, English is not his first language, so
I'm like, "You gotta pull over." He's like,
not all over
"Window down." I'm like, "Pull over." And he's trying to open the door to the other side. I'm like, "No, there's traffic over there." There was no traffic. There was like fucking 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, "Okay, I need you to like get off on this side." So I'm like, "Pull over so I can get out of the car and I can take Pilski with me," right? Yeah. And as this is happening, Pilski's like, "Get off on that side." He leans over me and projectile vomits chunks of hot pot, seafood, and soju into the fucking, because I haven't even opened the window, right? Into the window, and just like splashes all over the cab and my white t-shirt, which is just bought, by the way, like I said. I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna go on a night out."
That was already,
it was red.
The hot pot though. I don't know what you already.
It was a dumb idea, but it was red. It was blood red, and for a half a second, I'm like, is this blood? It's not blood. It's just a hot pot oil. But for like, I was drunk too, and for a half a second, I'm like, is he dying? Like, is blood coming? It's not. It's just the oil.
This is by the way. Can we just clarify? I'm pretty sure this is the first time you guys ever met, by the way, as well, wasn't it? Like this.
This is the first time I ever met. Yeah. I mean, it was day 4, but the first.
Yeah, so you've worked together for like 3 or 4 days, and then.
I mean, I already got an idea of what I was getting into, because on the fucking Pro League broadcast, Bleh would be. Like we would be casting the game, and in one hand he'd have a coffee, in the other hand he'd have a beer, and it would be like 10 a.m. in the morning, and he'd be just like, "Oh, little bit up, little bit down, little bit up, little bit down."
Pilski,
like trying to get the right level.
He knew we were getting into when he met me, so I was like, ready to let loose. So anyway, the smell is still hot pot. It's not even puke smell. The puke smell hasn't hit yet, right?
Oh no, it was bad.
And I'm trying to open the window, but there's a chunk of seafood or beef, I still don't know what, stuck underneath the fucking window button. And I'm pressing it. And the driver is like, open window! And I'm like trying, but all I can feel is squishy meat underneath the fucking window thing. So I had to fish out Pilski's chunk of what the fuck ever he had. Open the window. And it didn't do anything, so I opened the main door. I'm just, "All right, you need to throw it more." He's like, "No, I'm done." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" I'm like, it's a fucking slaughterhouse right there. And then you can see the driver. He reaches for the tissues, and his hands like tissues. And I'm like, "This ain't gonna help, buddy." But I'm gonna try my best. Right, completely covered. And then
you were so chill about it as well. You thought it was hilarious. That's how
I knew hilarious.
That's how I knew we were. Not only were you like the fucking goat, but also we were like bonded for life, because you were literally like most people would be pissed. They'd be like, "Fuck,
I would
this
have been
like,
furious, bro."
I'm actually pissed. I'm fucking over this shit. You were literally like, "You're sick, bro." Like, holy fuck.
Again, for a lot of people, this is like a friendship breaking moment. For me, it's a Tuesday. Right? Yeah. I've been with so many fucked up cunts in my life. Like, I'm like, "Oh, this is fucking great. It's fucking hilarious." So we're driving to the hotel, and then the car's slowing down. It's passing through like a neighborhood, and Pilski, the paranoia is kicking in, right? And he's like, "Bro, I think he's called his friends, and they're gonna kill us. Don't open the door." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude?" He's like, "No, we've destroyed his car. It's gonna kill us." It's actually freaking out. I'm like, "It's gonna be fine. and we finally reach the hotel. I'm like, dude, just give him all the money we have. I'm like, yeah, we give him all the money we have. So I take out I forgot what the currency in Indonesia is, but we had all the.
Wait,
notes.
I didn't know you gave him money. How much money did you give him?
You gave him money too.
Yeah, I know how much I gave him. How much did you give him?
Whatever I had. And we just gave him money. We're like, I am so sorry. Here's the money. Clean your car up. And bro, listen. I thought the guy would probably just yell at us. He saw the money. He's like, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much."
He was chill.
He was so happy. And
I don't know how much you handed him, but I remember I handed him like 90 Australian dollars because I was like, I've just fucked your life up.
I think combined went over 200, $300 or something like that.
Yeah, and I just gave it to him, and he was pissed, and he was like, "Fuck, bro, these guys."
Bro,
and we gave him money, and because not even for any other reason than I just felt like the smell was one of the worst. Like, I've worked in bars, guys. I have scooped vomit out of sinks with my hands. I have cleaned up vomit many times. This was one of the worst. This is vomit
actually
because the thing is ever heard. I've ever smelled, rather.
Must be pretty bad if you were hearing it too.
Yeah.
No, I could hear it. also, the fucking hot oil, the pungent smell of the Szechuan peppers, it just go up your nose along with the vomit smell. So it's like this chemical compound, right?
Legit. I feel like this needed a trigger warning. I'm sorry for anyone that's listening to this and has a weak stomach.
I've seen so many horror movies. I'm a horror aficionado. I love horror movies, but
this was a horror movie.
This was a horror movie. This is like fucking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Indonesian edition. Like, holy! I peered inside after that, and it's just red oil and chunks of puke all over, right? And then me and Pilski walk into the hotel, and you just see the reception just looking at these fucking disgusting tourists, right? I'm like, hey, hi, I'll be right down. I had a flight the next day, and I went upstairs, took my shirt off. I'm like, ain't no way I'm going to be able to clean this. So I gave it to them like, listen, it's really dirty. It's got that's not my puke though. Can you have this express dry, whatever you have to do, clean it and give it to me tomorrow? And they're like, we'll try, sir. Right, cool. So anyway, next day, meet you guys. And I remember I was packing my stuff up and I was waiting for my cab, and that's when they gave me my shirt back. Guys, it was a new shirt. They just bought me a new shirt. It wasn't the old one because it was perfectly clean. They just went out there and like, fuck this cunt, fuck this shirt, and they just bought me a brand new T-shirt and gave it to me. And I still have the T-shirt, by the way. But the funniest thing is a completely different brand. And they're like, fucking stupid ass idiot. He's never gonna know. Just give it to him. But yeah, that's how Pilski and I got bonded for life.
Yeah,
that was a story.
Yeah,
that's a great.
Not my proudest moment, definitely.
The hot pot incident.
Because I don't usually have an issue holding my liquor, but that was I think at the time I was like 19 or something, or 20, and I was like, bro, I did not have the foresight to be like, I should probably not eat spicy food, seafood, and then drink a ludicrous amount of alcohol.
I'm also kind of an enabler. I know that.
Oh, absolutely.
So I did.
If Killy was out on a night with Elfishguy, this would not have happened. It's all I'm going to say.
And we wouldn't have a story.
We would not have the story. No.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
it's all about stories, Jordan.
There is another part of that story as well. After you leave, you remember when we went out, we went and had dinner that night, the night that you left, because I think you had a very late flight. That, let's say it's Monday, right? You had a late flight on the Monday. We went out for dinner on Monday night, and then I'm there. I've had the dinner. I also get fucking sick in this event as well. Do you remember this, Pilski? I mean, you obviously don't remember it because there wasn't, you would remember it, but you don't remember the details of it because it was just me in my hotel room suffering from food poisoning. But I didn't sleep at all that night. I fucking had, I remember what we ate. It was ramen. We had ramen, and then we went and got some milk tea, bubble tea or something like that. And it was either the bubble tea or something at the ramen place. And that whole night I was on the floor. I don't know if when you guys are really, really sick, really sick in your stomach, do you ever get down on your haunches? Because I always, for me, I don't know, whatever it is about that particular position, downward dog position or whatever. That's kind of what I'm describing for the viewers. And I'm literally in the shower with the shower on, just with my head on the tiles, downward dog, stark naked, obviously, bum in the air, head on the tiles, all night long, thinking, I wish I never had this bubble tea.
Who the fuck does that, dude?
I don't know. It made me feel better. And I've been like that.
I might try that.
Life. You should. It actually works.
I've definitely done that. Like if I get really drunk, the best thing is just to lie on the cold bathroom tiles.
Exactly.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh,
when you're
that's
drunk,
nice.
yes. But I guess
Nice, man.
this reminds me of that meme, right? About the supremacy meme. With this guy on his haunches and all fours. It's like, I bow down to your supremacy. It's kind of like you guys. I remember one more story, and this is more embarrassing for me, but this was Extreme Slam 2019, where I was in Beijing, and then Extreme Slam, and then I did IM Shanghai after that. No, was it? No, it was Perfect World CSC after that. And I don't know if you remember this, Jordan, but we were all in the hotel together, and Conky was there. Jim was there. That's so.
That's one of the only times Jordan's gotten drunk at an event.
Yeah,
that's the only time I've ever seen it.
And there was also the one night, I think it was day 1 or day 2, when I just come back from Beijing and I was sick as fuck. I'm just drinking with you guys. And I'm like, guys, I think I'm running a fever.
I remember this. Yeah, and that was when I realized this guy does not take care of himself. He's fucking chain smoking and drinking Asahis at like 2 a.m. in the morning. Like, I'm not feeling that good. I'm like, no fucking wonder, bro. Like,
and that's 102 fever, bro.
Yeah.
And you know the funniest thing is, the next day I wake up, I'm looking at the news, local news, and it's like, there's a bubonic plague outbreak in Beijing.
Yeah.
And I just come from Beijing.
That was the COVID-19 year.
Right before COVID
But that's probably
started.
right before COVID.
We left China like right before this fucking global
COVID
pandemic
broke
started.
out literally a month after that thing.
Yep.
I might have been patient zero.
100%. You may have had it.
I might have been patient zero. I didn't listen. All I had was hot pot and drinks. Okay, I don't know how it got to me, but
Look,
I'm still alive and kicking. I'm just saying, indestructible.
Any other stories that you want to tell, or should I jump into the last question that we have from?
I'll go for the question. We'll come up with stories.
Okay, we've got a question. Obviously, Jean, if you remember, is a regular viewer, regular supporter of the show, and she wants to know some retrospectives of how Asian CS has changed from when everybody first got involved would be kind of cool. Like, I've heard bits and pieces of history here and there, especially with all those ranking vids for Skin Club. But, for example, I don't know which tourney Bleh actually first got started with for Asian CS. So I guess maybe, just some old stories is kind of what she's asking about here. And, maybe we start with where you started in CS, Bleh. And I can tell Pilski's story. I can't even remember the first Asian tournament that I cast, actually, to be honest.
That's going all the way back. Like, for me, I've been watching CS since 2003. I started playing in 2001. And long story short, like, Asian CS was never really a big thing, right? It's always like the NIPs, the Eolithics. These are like really old school American, European teams like Team 3D and all of that. But I remember when the Chinese teams, WNV, with Sakula, Alex, these guys, they struck me. And then, of course, the South Koreans in the form of Seoul. That's when I got really like kind of invested in Asian CS. I'm like, oh, these guys can duke it out with all the big boys and everything. It was in late 2013, CSGO came out like a year prior, hated the game, but then they started fixing it a little bit, and then we had the Arms Deals update come out, the major was happening. That's when I started getting back into CS again, playing quite regularly, playing in a few tournaments as well, like local LANs and stuff. And ESCA had just kind of launched in Asia, right? This is pre-Faceit, pre-So Strong, pre-everything. And obviously ESCA was the portal to play, games and everything. So it felt like it was kind of like this unsaid thing where all the players in Asia were like, oh shit, we have something to play for right now, because we didn't have any events happening there, right? And we had all these organizations like BF Nut, where it's what Impression used to play back in the day. We had, the Xccurate guys from Vietnam, barely any Chinese teams actually, mostly Southeast Asian teams primarily. And they started playing. And what I did was, I'm like, how about I cover these games? They're like 6, 7, 8 games every night, and I'm like, there's no one covering it. But if you look at NA and EU, everyone was covering it, and I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. Instead of just doing a 9 to 5. I used to do a 9 to 5, then like go to the bar, drink, listen to some heavy metal, and go back home and sleep. I'm like, you know what? Let me be a little bit more productive. I'll drink while casting Counter-Strike. That's what I did. I did for like a year and a half. I even emailed, or rather, I dropped messages on Facebook to all these orgs, Southeast Asian orgs, saying like, hey, I want to cover your team's playing for free, and if you could feature it, it'd be great. If you want it to happen. And everyone was super nice. That's when I got to know Impression and all these guys, and they were like, yeah, sure, I would love for you to cover it. And that's how it kind of started out for me, just covering these teams. And then because I played a few LANs in Bangalore and in India, they knew that I was casting these online stuff, and so they're like, all right, we're having an event this day. Can give you the IP. Do you want to cover it? I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. So about a year and a half of just doing that on the side before I got my first paid gig. Pretty much how I started.
Yeah.
And considering that's what it was back then to what it is right now, it's like completely different. Now you have Vietnamese channel having like 50,000 people watching Counter-Strike. You have Mongolians. You have all these Chinese teams popping up. So even though we sometimes crib about the state of Asian CS, when I go back to 2013, where after the Koreans are kind of semi-retired and CS:GO had come out, it was non-existent. Like I was the face of a scene that didn't even exist, right? A team qualifying for an event like DreamHack Winter with the major qualifier, which is Xccurate, when your crazy guy was playing for that team as well, that was a big deal. That was a holy shit, Asian team made it over there, right? That's how rare it was. Now we get disappointed when teams don't perform well, but they get there. And we have representation. We have earned, like mostly the Mongolz, but we have kind of earned what we have right now. But very far cry. And if I ever go back that far in the past, it's night and day. And it's so much better than what it was once upon a time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really remember the first Asia CS event that I ever cast, but it would have been because at the time I was working at ESL Australia, and ESL Australia, just by virtue of being in the time zone, ended up being the tournament operator or at least the broadcaster that broadcasts a lot of these qualifiers. And back in the day, the way that it used to work was that there was, for every event there was a qualifier. So there would be, let's say IEM Cologne. There would be IM Cologne Asia qualifier, and then there'd be Oceania qualifier. And we would always inevitably do the Oceania and the Asia qualifiers. That's how I think Pili and I first kind of like really got invested, obviously, in the Asia scene. Pilski, I think your first ever broadcast was Zen League, which was like the predecessor to the ESL Pro League Asia component. That was 2 seasons. And so that was I think, obviously, where you got brought in. I just did a call out on Twitter and said, does anybody that's a player want to, or anyone that lives in Sydney, because we obviously needed people local, anyone that lives in Sydney, expression of interest, if you're a player or if you're interested in casting, just sort of, put in this form. And Pili was one of the people that, signed up, and someone that obviously inevitably had something that I saw that I was like, I like. I think it was just, I thought he sort of spoke about the game in a good way, even if he didn't speak well, which is, very, 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 at the time, a lot of people were like, oh, this fucking Pilski guy, or Pili at the time, sounds so boring, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, but you listen to what he says, and he actually says good things. And that was what I thought, we kind of needed on the team that we had at the time, because we had people that could commentate, but we didn't really necessarily have people that were like endemic Counter-Strike analyst kind of brains, right? We didn't have people who had played high level, who had been in-game leaders, who had done this and that. And so that's why I sort of wanted Pilski to be involved with our commentary team. And so brought him in, and we obviously ended up commentating a lot of those Asia-based events. And I guess tangentially to that conversation, I suppose the story of how Geographically Challenged started was that I remember there was a point where I was like, I felt like the three of us were becoming some of the experts in the region, or the experts at the time in the region that had covered the most Counter-Strike from Asia, and knew the teams, knew the players, knew the stories, and were among the very few people that could be considered people that were knowledgeable on the Asian Counter-Strike scene. Because again, at this time, the scene was not like how it is now. People were not really watching Asian Counter-Strike for the most part. There would be a team that would go and play internationally, and they'd be like, oh, we don't know who these guys are, but they're from Asia, so they have really good firepower, and they will probably be playing really aggressive. That was the story for like 5 years for Asian Counter-Strike. And I remember like major after major after major after major, I was like, this will be our turn. Like, we'll get a turn to cast a minor. You know what I mean? I was like, eventually we'll cast a minor, right? Because I was like, at some point, they're going to see us. They're going to know, oh, these are the guys that have been covering Asia. We should hire them to do the Asia minor. Obviously, that was a fucking ludicrous idea. So it got to a point where, after 2 or 3 years of thinking this would have been, again, around, when did we start? Like 2019 we started the podcast roughly.
2020, right? So
2020 maybe even. So we've been casting Counter-Strike in Asia for like probably since
Pilly got hired around 2016, 2017.
16, 17, yeah.
So we'd been doing 3-4 years. Bleh, obviously, even before that. And when I say nobody else was casting Counter-Strike in Asia at the time, I mean that. It was all pretty much, there was no Blast, there was no PGL Asia events really. Okay, there was a couple of like, do you remember the CS Asia Championship type online events? What were they called, Bleh? The ones that PGL did.
Perfect World.
Perfect World. They were the Perfect World Challenges or something like
those
that.
Were the those are the RMR events.
No. These
first
were
RMR,
even
right?
before. Like I think they were not.
Oh
RMRs.
yes. It was the Perfect World online stuff. Yeah, handled by PGL.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys doing that, of which Bleh was involved, and then some UK guys, but they were like very sporadic and different people most of the time, every time. But Pilly and I had been doing it, and a couple of the other Aussie guys had been doing like all the ESL qualifiers for all the ESL tournament. IEM Cato, Cologne, Sydney, fucking Rio, whatever IEM event there was, we did the qualifier. ESL Pro League, we did the qualifier. Anything ESL related, we did the qualifier for Asia. And I was like, after 3 years, we're fucking not getting hired. Like, what do we need to do to get hired for these shows, for these minors? So it got to a point where there was like some particular tournament. I don't even remember what major this was, what minor this was, but it was the one where Richard Lewis's producer got hired as talent. I can't even remember what that was. Yeah, Sam got hired. I know who Sam got hired.
It was the PGL, if
Something.
I'm not mistaken, the Kespa event.
I don't even remember this.
And like, power to the bloke, you know what I mean? Like, if you get that opportunity, fucking go for it. But I looked at that and I was like, this guy doesn't even fucking cast. Like, I don't even know who this. Like, I know who this guy is, but he's not a talent for CS.
It's also because there's just to like chip in a little bit. It's also because for a lot of these events which are being done at that time, like so you had the major, just done by that was for the E-League major.
Yeah.
So they would kind of like hand out the minors thing to some other tier or whatever, and the seniors they're like, hey, they're more concerned on the EU side of things, right? Or let's say the Americas. In Asia, they're like, oh, whatever, just hire whoever you can get, like the tier 2 guys. They never really took the effort, despite even me, dude. Even for me, it took me so long before a tier was like, wait, I'm like, guys, I'm the Asian Counter-Strike guy. I would love to work at that.
Exactly.
They just didn't care, man.
Yeah. So they were hiring, and it wasn't like, this is not a shot at Sam or at anybody, like, again, like I said, power to these guys. But I had seen enough instances of this kind of hire happen where I was like, A, I don't even know who this is, or B, this is definitely not someone that should be on the show for Asia specifically because they aren't covering the region. And I was like, I'm so fucking done with this. I'm just going to start my own show because we're going to watch the major or watch the Asia minor and have Dewey fucking number one say, I haven't watched these teams before, but I really like the Chinese aggression or something like that. And I was just like, I can't. I'm sick of it. They don't know the teams. They don't fucking pronounce the team names correctly. They don't know how to even say the fucking player names. Any of this shit. And so I was like, let's just start our own show. So I think I probably would have spoken to Pilly about this and said, are you interested? Whatever, because we were commentating at the time as a partner. And I was like, let's get Bleh. And I think this would have been maybe even after we'd done that Indonesia event. I can't even remember. I think we must have, or at least I must have met you maybe at Cobex or something like that. I think that was in 2018.
I think I met you. Fucking hell.
I think Cobex was the first time.
Cobex was the first time. Yeah.
It was in India, an India event. So 2018, I think that was. So then I obviously had met you.
2018, correct.
And then that's where I was like, okay, well, I know Bleh. Let's see if we can get Bleh in. And then I would have sent you guys a message and I said, do you guys want to do a show about Asian Counter-Strike for the upcoming major or for the minor or something like that? And then I think that minor, the upcoming minor that we had planned to then do that episode for was cancelled because it was a COVID minor, because it was 2020, right? That event would have been cancelled. So it was like, well, fuck, like we had this idea, like I'd made an overlay and stuff. Like you go back and watch the first episode, you can see the overlay and stuff like that. Oh, fucking horrible. But I'd made an overlay. I was like, let's just do an episode anyway and talk about Asian Counter-Strike. And so we did. And, now this is where we are so many years later. But that's the story of how Geographically Challenged started. And to this day, our WhatsApp group is still called No Miners Club.
It is.
And the irony is that we've never worked a minor together.
Current environment, I think it's great branding if you think about it.
We've never worked. Yeah, that's true. We've never worked an RMR or a minor together. Pilly and I worked one in Melbourne, and obviously
I didn't even get to go.
Yeah, you didn't even get to go to it. So
I was on the desk in Sydney.
So after all these years, we met our own fucking minor analyst desk on.
I've actually worked with Teatime for an RMR before I worked with you guys.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. Like, it just did, for some reason, just didn't happen for us. But hey, at least we got geographically challenged out of it. So that's the story.
And forever we will be the No Miners Club because the miners are dead.
The miners are dead. Yeah.
Yeah. But it all worked out okay. It did. In one way or another. But still, yeah, struggling to work events together in general.
Yep. All right. Look, shall we wrap it up there? This is actually, by the way, the longest episode of Geographically Challenged now we have ever done. The previous longest was 2 hours and 6 minutes. This is now 2 hours and 13 minutes. So I really didn't expect it to go this long, but sometimes you get on a bit of a tangent.
We have a lot more stories as well, but I think probably for episode 200 or something.
Yeah, probably should wrap it up.
Or 150. 150. Let's keep like.
Pilly and I have got a cast in an hour and a half, so we've got to
fuck off, guys.
Have a little bit of a break before then. But before we say goodbye, obviously, I'll give you guys the opportunity to say some words if you want to. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to all of the guests that we've had on Geographically Challenged. So I'm going to go down the list in order of appearance. Thanks to our guests: Nikh, Gomez, Impression, Erkast, Alistair, Mac, Alex, Henry G, Panic, Sniper, Mythic, Harath, Benkai, Dubstep, Tux, Paperthin, Noz, Opal, Minimized, Jordation, Teatime, Neokai, Roffleco, Your Wombat, Inns, Brace, Addict K, Tox, Conky, Komodo, Scriv, Viridian, Victoria Cheng, Dobu, rest in peace, Savage, Keen, Trav, Surf. And just to round out the top three, by the way, in terms of appearances, Teatime and Mac equal first with 7 and Neo with 6. So shout out to everybody that's been involved in Geographically Challenged and that has helped to make it possible over the years. We really appreciate it. And obviously for those of you guys that are watching as well, I mean, look, granted, we say, we would do this anyway because we love talking and having a good time and hanging out and all that kind of stuff, bullshit, whatever. That is true to an extent. But if no one was watching this, I don't think we'd be doing this. So really appreciate everybody that tunes in, likes, subscribes, comments, built a little bit of a community around Geographically Challenged as well in the Discord as well. There's almost 200 people in that Discord, and every single day someone's talking about Asian Counter-Strike. So that is not something that happened 5 years ago, I can say. So I'm very, very proud of what we've been able to achieve, guys. And also, of course, Pilly, Bleh, thank you so much for being involved. This has been, more than I ever thought it would really be. And I'm sure for all of us, no one ever thought this would be something that, we've been able to do for this long. So I think it's really, really cool. And I'm glad to have shared that journey with both of you.
Yeah. Firstly, I think thanks to you, Jordan, because all said and done, Pilly and I would just rock up. And we're like, all right, what are we talking about today? But for everyone who doesn't know, it's Jordan who does 90% of the work, the actual work, the setting up, the graphics, all the cool little new things he does. Also, even the Discord and whatnot, just making sure the community is there, because I'm a lazy fucking cunt, right? I'm just going to be doing something else all the time. And Pilski's in fucking Valorant, so he's not even one of us at this point. But yeah, shout out to Jordan for making it work. Also, there's a hell of a list of guests we had there. And I forgot we actually had Henry G at one point, which is so funny. Yep. That's when he announced the Colossus. It was one of his earliest episodes we ever did as well. And Henry to talk about this, and he's just vaping. Well, there's going to be a fucking Colossus, I'll tell you that, lads. Shout out to all the guests who've shown up, to fill in for us, or even separately, even on, whenever you've met them on lands as well. But primarily for me, it has to be the viewers, right? Because we never thought we'd get to this point. And, whether as a viewer you think I'm an Irish racist, or Pilski's a mad fucking cunt, or Jordan's a cooked fucking piece of shit elf, doesn't really matter. You're there. You show up, you interact, you comment, and, whether you love us or hate us, thank you for being there. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we actually did this for 100 episodes, and 100% echo what Blair said. It's Jordan that does all the work behind this. Without Jordan, there is no podcast. I just love the fucking scene, man. I love to shoot the shit with you guys. Even though I am a Valorant guy now, I still I know you guys aren't really involved in Valorant, so I guess you don't see the follow through to it. But for me, the reason why I enjoy Valorant, I do love the game, and I do like the fact that I'm still involved in the APAC scene, and that's something that's really important to me. But the follow through of the stories of so many of these players that started in CS and then continued into Valorant, and seeing those kind of players careers develop and kind of blossom over there is something that's been awesome to watch, and something that I actually think is really a big part of something that we've all been a part of, and something that we've all kind of witnessed over time. So that's why I'm really enjoying that side of things. I think nowadays, and especially I think most of the people that watch this podcast are part of kind of the new era of, let's fucking go Mongolz and the state that CS is in now, which I think less involved in than I was back when we started this podcast, and things have changed a lot. But at the end of the day, I've had to kind of just like follow the path that makes the most sense for me, and it is still kind of connected to what we actually started initially. So I do enjoy watching Mongolz. I do enjoy the current teams in CS, and I think, look, even if I'm not as informed as the average watcher of the podcast about Mongolz and everything that's happening in that scene nowadays, I feel like I still am pretty connected to what's happening in the tier 2 ecosystem. And like Jordan said, we're going to cast soon, and we're going to fucking go cast fucking challenger Oceanic teams and Asia teams, just like always. The good old what do you call them? Just the boys playing online Asian CS. Just try to do their best, and that's still the grassroots of the scene, and I still do enjoy that and watching what those teams are up to at the moment. So it's a cool thing to kind of see for the podcast.
Yep. All right. Well, one special shout out that I did forget. I think I forgot Jim Nesso in the list there, and he did also appear as a guest. So I don't want to forget him. You get your special
Banana
shout
man.
out. Yeah,
Jim's to go.
I think he was on the episode just before Henry G. He was part of the pitch that kind of got Henry G on the show.
That was my brainchild. Yeah, that was my brainchild.
Anyway, so shout out to Jim.
Also,
as well.
also just a generally a fun guy to hang around. Drinks as well. Proper fucking cunt.
But let's wrap it up there, guys. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for watching over the last 100 episodes. Again, whether or not there'll be another 100, we'll wait and see. If there is another 100, it probably won't take us 6 years, actually, because we did have a bit of a hiatus. There was a point at which this podcast ceased to exist, around episode 40 somewhere. We just sort of stopped recording for about a year. That was when everything was happening with Valorant, and we had even
kind of dead
at one point even sort of started to half pivot this to a Valorant podcast. There was like 5 or 6 episodes in there where we were pretty much talking Valorant. That's dark time, obviously.
Dodged that one. Yeah, rough times.
We're still here and we're still kicking. So who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years? But again, obviously appreciate everybody for tuning in for the last 5-6 years or so. If you are so inclined, obviously like, comment, and subscribe, especially for this episode. It is a special one for us, and I hope it's been an enjoyable one for you guys as well. 2 hours and 20 minutes if you've made it this far.
Fucking hell.
Credit to you, obviously.
Sponsor us, you cunts.
Sponsor us. That would be nice. And also buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy if you're so inclined to support us financially. Otherwise, we will catch you for episode number 101. Peace. Hey, thanks for watching the video all the way through to the end. I just want to give a quick shout out to Jean, who has been a big supporter of mine over on Buy Me a Coffee. If you'd also like to support me financially, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy and check it out. See you in the next video.